wood tones. We can even motorize your shutters like the one in the OnSideRadio.com studio. A shade above window fashions. 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A shade above window fashions.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business.
Their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo!
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnSideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep. Download the Radio.net app and listen to Onside Radio in every Inter Miami CF game. OnSideRadio.com, your home for Inter Miami soccer.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yes! Oh, it is. It is! Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Oh, I'm Alex Donno, and I'm with you guys here for 3 hours here on OnSideRadio.com. Back in studio today, even though it's not the nicest day outside. I'll be honest, right? Most days I sit in here when I sign on, I tell you it's beautiful, sun is shining out there, it's an incredible day. Because, 320 days out of the year, well, I don't know, because it does rain a lot. But still, I feel like most days are nice. Today, not the nicest day outside. It was raining cats and dogs a little while ago. I just hope it's not raining when I leave here in about 3 hours. I'm very selfish. I hope it's not raining when Alex Aguirre leaves here in about 4 hours. I can be selfish on his behalf as well. I want every Alex on planet Earth, and only people named Alex, to have a smooth ride today. Yeah, Alex Toledo, who's joining us today as well. That's a good, and that's a great segue, sir, into the guest list for today. 3:35 p.m. We're going to have a postmortem on the Miami Heat with Alex Toledo from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. He's going to help us decide, what do we do with Duncan Robinson? What do we do with Jimmy Butler in terms of giving this dude an extension? Alex, I mean, do you like that idea to give, Jimmy, he's going to be 34 when his current deal runs out, right? And I have questions as to where exactly he'll be in terms of his physical prime 2 years from now. And now we're talking about extending him at max dollars for 2 extra years, taking him up until he's 36 years old. Didn't Mickey and Pat already not want to do this with Dwayne Wade years ago? So we didn't want to do it with Dwayne. Now we're doing it with Jimmy. This doesn't sit right with me, man.
It's weird because Pat Riley, and I've been listening to Ira and Ethan on Inside the Paint, and the history of Pat Riley's, moods or behaviors when it comes to signing and trading players that have worn the Miami Heat uniform. And, there is a loyalty aspect with Jimmy Butler, but I feel like the Heat don't want to mess up again.
I know.
But it's just a lot of money. It's just a lot of money. That's the thing. And, in the perfect world, and Ira was mentioning this, they should offer him the 2-year extension.
Yeah.
But the agents and the players, they already see a number formed. And it's that's the max. Okay, I want that. It's like going to the fair and you see all the prizes already on the wall. And it's I want that one.
I want the giant Kermit the Frog.
Exactly. So you already see the prizes there, which is kind of unfair for the teams and the front office is because you already see the prize before doing anything. So and that's the problem right there with Jimmy Butler. But I don't think he's worth that money. I don't think Duncan Robinson is worth that money, but that's just more of an old school mindset you play what you're worth. And in today's NBA, there's already money set up. There are salaries already set up that it doesn't matter if you're not playing like that. If you had a couple of good seasons, you can get the max because that already exists. And Joe Harris, Bertans for the Washington Wizards, they are, I guess, now a staple, an example of you can be a horrific defender, but if you can light it up and shoot the 3-ball well, you're worth $80 million. And then I'm thinking to myself, who the hell decided that?
It must be nice.
Who the heck decided that a one-dimensional player makes this amount of money? I was talking about a big O off the air. Yeah. That means that Dennis Rodman played today. He's worth $50 million a year.
I mean, I guarantee you all of the Dennis Rodmans of the world, or the Robert Ory's of the world, and the Ben Wallace's, why wasn't I born 15, 20 years later than I was, is what they've all got to be thinking. Why wasn't I just born a decade and a half later? I could have cleaned up. I mean, dude, another, you want to talk about salary inflation. I think it's bigger in the NBA than it is in some other sports. It's obviously, it's pretty pervasive in any major sport because I can remember hearing the story, in the 80s, when Dan Marino signed a $1 million a year contract. And what a big deal that was. Late 80s, early 90s. Oh, my God, this guy's making $1 million a year. What do quarterbacks make now? $40 million a year? I know we're seeing inflation with everything, but we don't see inflation like that. That would be as if, gas prices in 1990, if it was $1 per gallon, that they would now be $40 per gallon. No, it's inflated. It hasn't inflated that much. I mean, the market for pro athletes is insane. So I've got plenty of questions about the Miami Heat, the offseason, where they go from here. Alex Toledo from 5 Reasons Sports is going to have answers for me 3:35 p.m. today. At 4:20, I always make sure now to lock him in at a 4:20 because he seems to enjoy. I don't know if he partakes. I have no clue. But for whatever reason, Antoine Staley seems to he's tickled by the fact that I usually invite him on at 4:20 p.m., and so I'm sticking with that theme today. Antoine's going to join me at 4:20. Want to talk some Tebow, want to talk some Aaron Rodgers, want to talk some Tua with Antoine. I've also, though, got to confront him a little bit for something we brought up yesterday, and we'll be bringing it up again today, about his seafood takes, okay? Because he said something on Twitter yesterday that got my attention. It made me a little angry. And for those who know me well, and I consider anyone who listens to this show, I consider a friend. Anyone who follows me on Twitter and interacts with me, I consider you a friend. I have a very loose definition of friendship, but we're all friends here, okay? Anyone who knows me well knows that I am not easily triggered, okay? I don't get triggered by political discussions the way so many of you do. I don't get triggered by, many of like the great societal debates. I'm very rational. I like to see both sides. I like to formulate opinions. I think rationality is something that we're really missing in society. I don't think enough people are willing to hear other people's perspectives. But as our friend Tony Two Times can attest to, when it comes to food, I'm a fascist. I am a food fascist, and there are certain things for me that are non-negotiable, right? Anyone who thinks ranch is better than blue cheese on wings. Anybody who thinks pineapple belongs on pizza. There are certain takes for me, certain opinions that are non-negotiable, and we're going to go over one of those around 4:20 today with Antoine Staley. In the 5 o'clock hour, I was thinking this morning, I really wanted to mix it up a little bit, and you guys know that here on Onside Radio, we strive to bring you a ton of sports talk, and we talk about things that you don't hear on a lot of other places when it comes to not only hitting things like the NFL, college football, the NBA. We also talk more hockey than anyone else talks. We talk a lot more soccer than anyone else talks that you're going to find on the airwaves around these parts. But we also mix it up. Like, we have a little fun. We talk about things that are away from sports. And I was thinking today, because we discussed this on the show yesterday, the fact that people are getting certain aspects of their lives back now. Movie theaters are becoming a thing again. A Quiet Place 2 just had a really good weekend box office opening this past weekend, like doing very well considering the fact that, we're not completely out of the pandemic and not every movie theater is even open at this point. And now, streaming services have been blowing up with a lot of straight-to-streaming movies. Movie theaters are coming back. And a guy who's a good friend and an old friend of mine who I haven't kept enough in touch with over the last couple of years because he moved away from the area a couple of years back. But he used to be on my shows, one of my staples for entertainment talks. He's a film critic. He's written for many a publication over the years, critiquing and reviewing films and TV shows. Billy Donnelly, the man who formerly went by the infamous Billy the Kid. Billy Donnelly is going to be joining us at 5:20 to talk some entertainment. And I also, quite frankly, I thought that he'd be a really appropriate person to have on a day like today because he's also a podcaster, and he does a podcast that deals with mental health. And mental health has become a huge topic again this week because of Naomi Osaka's situation and why she pulled out of the French Open. So I'd like to get some insight on that side of things as well from Billy Donnelly because his podcast helps a lot of people because they talk through mental health issues, and I think awareness is one of the most important things. And I want to talk more later on in the show today about Naomi Osaka and just the way her story is being covered, because I think some people are being a little bit arrogant with two extremes, one on each side with the way they're covering her withdrawing from the French Open, and I want to give my take on that a little bit later on. So we're going to be having on Alex Toledo, 3:35, 4:20, Antoine Staley. I have to take him to task today, 5:20, Billy Donnelly. You know what else it is today, my friends? Looking at the calendar, literally, it's Tuesday. It's a terrible take Tuesday. My favorite freaking day of the week here on Onside Radio. I am going to air out, let's see, how many do I have today? I am going to air out a trio of terrible takes at 3:20. Two of them are food-related. One of them is very much sports-related. So we're going to air out a threesome, a menage a trois, if you will, of terrible takes coming on a little bit later on this hour. I also want to talk a lot of Dolphins today. I heard something that this literally made me chuckle in the car when I was driving into work today. I was listening to Kai's Corner, and Kai was talking with Omar Kelly on the EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report. Omar, he made this analogy that it like I appreciate what he did here. It just the mental image of this made me laugh, okay? You know, Omar Kelly, what does he love when it comes to watching football? He loves the trenches. He is the type of guy, and I've watched games with him and practices with him before covering the Dolphins over the years. When most of us are watching a play develop, we're watching the ball being snapped, we're watching the quarterback, does he hand it off, does he throw it, what kind of routes are the wide receivers running? That's the way 99% of us watch a football game. We're watching the ball. Where is the ball right now? Where is the ball going? Where did it come from? That's what we're watching. When Omar Kelly watches a football game, he's actually watching the 5 offensive linemen. It's really weird, and it works for him. Listen, it works for him. And listen, part of it is he feels like watching the trenches makes him do his job better because he's seeing things that most people aren't looking for, and I can respect that. For me personally, when I'm watching an NFL game, I know that it is part of my job to watch it because I do talk about it and you know, praise people and criticize people and recap games and all that good stuff. But I'm also watching as a fan, right? And I do want to maximize my enjoyment, and my enjoyment is watching the ball. Where is it being thrown to? Who is it being handed off to? How far are they going with it? Did they score a touchdown? Did they move the chains? Those are the things that are important to me. But Omar Kelly, it's more important to him to watch the offensive and defensive lines, and I respect that. He said something today, though, that really made me laugh, okay? So he's talking about how he watches the offensive linemen doing their thing during games, and he referred to it as being like, because he's so amazed, I think, by the agility that comes with the size of some of these elite offensive linemen, and he referred to it as like watching 300-pound bears dancing. I mean, I thought that was incredible mental theater, like to think about that. 300-pound, and I think, if you're talking like a grizzly bear, I think they probably weigh even more than that, like a 400, 500-pound gigantic grizzly bear, doing perfect footwork and, protecting a quarterback's blind side or, pulling, freeing up a hole for a running back. He referred to watching offensive linemen as like watching 300-pound bears dancing, and I respect that. I respect that analogy. I honestly don't think I could come up with a better one. I think that he really hit the nail on the head with that. Bleacher Report, they went through every NFL team, and they identified one move that the Miami Dolphins need to make. I'm not saying I hate this, but this really came out of left field for me. The one move that they say the Miami Dolphins need to make is signing Duke Johnson Jr. I hope he's got a lot left in the tank. My guy, Duke, the only thing that made Al Golden's teams palatable back in the day. He says the Dolphins added a pair of wide receivers this offseason to support second-year quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. They signed speedster Will Fuller V. They drafted Tagovailoa's former teammate Jalen Waddle in the first round. Miami's backfield, however, remains a questionable unit. I agree. Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, and Salvon Ahmed are fine complementary backs, and Miami appears content to take a committee approach this season. Adding premier receiving back Duke Johnson, and that is his strength. There's no question about it. When it comes to catching passes out of the backfield, finding space, that's where my guy Duke thrives. They say adding him to that committee would help supply versatility and potency to Miami's backfield. A quality runner in his own right with a 4.2 yards per carry average. I didn't realize it was actually that high. It's good on him. Johnson's biggest strength is his pass-catching ability. In 6 pro seasons, he has amassed 1,931 rushing yards, 2,829 receiving yards, and 20 combined touchdowns. Johnson could be the perfect backfield outlet option for Tagovailoa as the Alabama product enters his first full season as Miami starter. And something that's very important for me is every time I see these kind of preseason outlook reports for the Dolphins, I respect when people write it from the standpoint of understanding that Tua is the quarterback and what do you need to do to help him succeed? Because not everybody looks at it that way. You read some of the pieces being written about the Miami Dolphins, it's, how's Tua going to hold them back? Or did they mess up not replacing Tua? Like, people get so focused on that. it's not constructive. Like, at this point, it's not. That's your quarterback. Figure out how to make it work. Like, it's not constructive conversation for these reporters to go through. Well, oh, you know what? What were they? Why did they trade away from number 3? They could have had this, that guy, and the other. Oh, they could have drafted Justin Fields. What were they thinking? Well, who should they have drafted? Should they go after Deshaun Watson, even though the guy's getting sued by 22 women for alleged sexual assault? So I appreciate the fact when people can actually sit down and appreciate the fact that he is the quarterback, and we have to find a way to make it work. Want to say hello to Tremolio, who's in the chat. Brooklyn Rob is in the chat as well. For those watching us live on YouTube, Brooklyn Rob notices I am wearing an Italian national team hat. Says, great hat, my brother. Forza Azzurri, 10 more days until the Euros start. And I said it, Rob, I said it a couple weeks ago, man. You and I, you being a Juventino, me being an Interista, we are enemies during the Serie A season. But when there's a big national team tournament going on, we unite. Our powers unite like Captain Planet. Brooklyn, Rob, and I are one. We root for the Italian national team together. Hell yes, Brooklyn, Rob. And that's a good reminder when I see people chiming in on the YouTube chat. If you're listening to us right now on an audio-only platform, keep in mind, YouTube and Twitch, there are video options. And I'm humble. I know that I have incredibly rugged good looks. When I walk around, I'm like an Old Spice commercial. Women are just jumping all over me, and I'm trying to fight them off because I'm a happily married guy. I don't want to, create a domestic situation. So I try and be faithful, even though women are jumping all over me all over the place. So if you don't come to YouTube for my rugged good looks, come for the chat feature, because I think the chat feature is the most fun thing, man. We have the live chat room in there. Be like Brooklyn Rob. Be like Tremolio Houdini de Santa Elena Cruz. Is that your full name for real, bro? Tremolio. The Houdini part can't be real, can it? Tremolio Houdini de Santa Elena Cruz is his full name in the YouTube chat. Like, bro, Tremolio Cruz was taken or something? You had to put 5 names into the YouTube chat? The chat room is so great. Every single day, I'm active on the chat. I'm interactive with it. And every single day, at least one topic from the YouTube chat turns into a topic on the show. So we love to be live and interactive with it. So make sure if you're on the YouTube watching us live, say hello. Just go to YouTube, search Onside Radio. Make sure you subscribe to our channel while you're there. When you hop into the live feed, smash that like button. Hit that thumbs up button, because that pumps us out. It makes us show up in more people's home pages. You can help spread the word of Onside Radio so people who may not have found us yet can find us in the future. And if you're not able to, watch us on Twitch or on YouTube, then there are many audio options to stream us live. Our website, onsideradio.com. I was listening today on the Radio FM app in my car. The Simple Radio app and the MyTuner Radio app also work great. These are all free applications. Download on your smartphone, and you can take us anywhere. All right, my friends, my favorite part of a Tuesday show is coming up next. I got 3 really bad takes I want to air out. It's another terrible Take Tuesday brought to you by Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurants. Coming your way next, this is the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Listen to OnSideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody Ass family. Dr. Moody Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
at OnsideRadio.com. We chirp all day and night. It's time to do some more chirping with David Dwork at our Chirping the Cats report.
It was a fun season, but as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. The Panthers put up a good fight in forcing a Game 6, but that was as far as they would get, as the defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning knocked out the Cats with Wednesday's 4-0 win. Rookie goaltender Spencer Knight did what he could to keep Florida in the game, stopping 20 shots, including several point-blank opportunities during the first two periods, but it was Tampa goalie Andrei Vasilevsky that stole the show. The likely Vezina Trophy finalist was a brick wall, stopping everything the Panthers threw his way and frustrating the Cats at every turn. Now Tampa will move on to face the winner of the Carolina-Nashville series, while Florida will head back to Sunrise, clean out their lockers, and head into the offseason wondering what could have been.
Keep up with the latest on the Florida Panthers by subscribing on most platforms by searching Onside Radio, your home for South Florida sports.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
With Make-A-Wish, the impossible becomes possible. A girl battling cancer can become a race car driver battling the course. The boy showing all the nurses his fire trucks can take the helm of a real one. Wishes can give kids with critical illnesses the strength to keep fighting, get better, and grow up.
Where there's a wish, there's a way.
Wishes need you. Visit Make-A-Wish at wish.org.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, welcome back in. Man of the Match here on Onside Radio. I mentioned YouTube and Twitch, how you can watch us live. If you're listening and you still want to communicate with us, because if you're not, on YouTube, you can't use the YouTube live chat, but there's another way to get through to us, my friends. In fact, I'm going to be opening this up right here in a second so I can see what everyone's writing in. You can use our station text line, so you can text us day and night. It's always open, the text line, 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. That's how you text us here on OnsideRadio.com. All right, you know what we like to do on Tuesdays? Tuesday is the day where we air out some of the most aggravating things said on television and on the internet throughout the week. It's time for another Terrible Take Tuesday.
There's always one idiot with a platform.
How stupid are you?
You're a moron! Anybody can say anything these days. This is Terrible Take Tuesday.
Hey, pal. You just blowing from Stupid Town?
Terrible Take Tuesday is brought to you by Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and my friends, they have lots and lots of German beer. You get all this and more at Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Hate to do it for the first terrible take, but I need to remind people what was said so that we can get the man himself to answer for his crimes an hour from now. So, yesterday, everyone was passing around on Twitter that receipt that some guy posted on the internet of his tab from a meal at some restaurant in Brickell that I cannot pronounce. And he racked up a $6,200 tab. And one of the items on that tab were crab legs. And in response to that, Antoine Staley, our good friend who talks with us weekly about football and food, Antoine Staley tweeted out, crab legs are overrated. And he said lobster is always better than crab legs. Now, I'm not here to pick a fight with lobster. I'm fine with lobster. I'm good with that, bro. But you can't disrespect crab legs like that. Like, really? I mean, Antoine has, he's lived up and down the East Coast. He's lived in Florida where we have some amazing stone crabs seasonally. I'm sure he's had his share at times of king crab and snow crab and Dungeness crab cakes. Dude, I can't let you get away with it. Not on this show. Not on this show. I cannot let anyone, man, woman, child, get away with saying crab legs are overrated. Crab legs are a gift from the gods, from King Triton, Neptune. Crab legs are so delicious. In fact, and again, I said I don't want to pick a fight with lobster. That's not my intention. But I think if anything's a little overrated, it's probably lobster. I mean, the way people talk about lobster gets so much respect, probably a little bit too much. I don't think people are talking about crab legs enough. I mean, God bless Jameis Winston a few years back, made crab legs famous again, right? Because he stole the crab legs. And you know what happened? After that story came out years ago about Jameis Winston shoplifting crab legs from Publix, you know what I did? I ate crab legs that very night. I was inspired. I mean, it was such an amazing piece of motivation. And if anything, I think lobster, not crab, is a tad overrated, okay? And I will tell you that, okay, if you offered me a choice tonight between lobster tail and snow crab, maybe I'm going with lobster. But if you offered me the choice of lobster versus stone crab claws, my God, I'm going with stone crab at least 6 out of 7 days of the week. Stone crab, to me, that's the pinnacle. That might be the pinnacle of crustaceous seafood, the stone crab. It is so good. So I'm not going to let Antoine get away with it. He's going to be on with us in less than an hour to explain his statement, because crab legs being overrated, I will not allow that to fly on the show. The next terrible take. This hard seltzer hysteria. That's the take. I don't understand how anyone drinks this stuff and raves about it. So a little story, and those who follow me on Twitter already saw me talking about this a little bit last night. I was in Walgreens last night picking up a few things, and I walked by the refrigerated section where they have the beers and the soft drinks and stuff, and I kind of stopped when I'm walking by the refrigerator area, and I looked at a couple of cases they had of this White Claw. And I thought, you know what? People have been talking about this stuff for a couple of years, right? Like the biggest craze that I see in the alcoholic world is this craze for hard seltzer. Up until last night, I had never tried it. I had never tried a hard seltzer. I love craft beers. I love red wine. I love cocktails. I had never in my life, and they've only really been like a big trend for the past couple of years when they started putting them in cans and White Claw, all these other brands. I had never in my life tried a hard seltzer. So I thought, YOLO, what do I have to lose? Let me pick up a case of hard seltzer, the variety pack. They got some black cherry. They got some raspberry. They got some like lime flavor, like a whole thing, a whole variety pack. And I take it home, and I bust open one of these things, and I drink it down, and I'm like, that's it? This might be the most boring beverage of all time. This is what people have been raving about? Like, it literally tastes like seltzer water with a little hint of like, artificial fruit flavoring aftertaste. That's what people have been raving about. Like, bro, give me a nice full-bodied IPA. Give me a nice hearty wheat beer. Give me a Weissen. Like, you give me like an actual alcoholic beverage. Like, I don't understand why people act like these hard seltzers are the second coming of Christ. Like, they don't taste like anything. And then people are explaining to me on Twitter, because I had to vent my frustration. Like, I paid $16.87 for a case of White Claw, and I kind of wish I could return it. Like, it's such a disappointing beverage. And then people are like, bro, you don't understand, man. It's not about the flavor. It's about the lack of calories, bro. Like, I can drink like 5 of these and I can still get my sweat on in the gym, bro. It's cool, dude. This is about fitness. This is about lifestyle. You know what, bro? I'd rather drink a freaking Diet Coke than drinking one of those things if you're talking about saving calories. I mean, you know what this reminds me of? This whole hard seltzer craze, because nobody actually likes it, but people pump it up because they think it's somehow healthy, okay? This is like another version of quinoa. Nobody likes quinoa, okay? But people talk about it like it's great because you're trying to lose a few pounds, and it's like, dude, I'd rather have pasta, but, this is so much better for me. So quinoa is terrible. I've had it several times. Like, it's awful. Sweet potato fries, not as good as actual fries, but people think they're cheating. They think they're eating something healthy. So this hard seltzer is the same thing. Like, you don't want to have a goddamn beer because you think it's so much better to save yourself a couple of calories. So you talk up this hard seltzer as if you're drinking something amazing. Not so much, my friends. Not so much. I did drink a second one, though, last night because it was the only alcohol I had in my house. So I did drink another one. I'll talk to you after tonight. Maybe I'll have a couple more tonight. It'll grow on me a little bit. All right, the final terrible take here on this Terrible Take Tuesday. This clown who writes for Bleacher Report, he allegedly covers the NBA, although I don't think he's actually watched the NBA for more than like 2 years. So this clown who writes for Bleacher Report, he reacted in the most asinine way possible to that video, during Game 4 of Udonis Haslem throwing a chair in frustration during a timeout when the Heat were about to get swept. Those who know. Those who understand the culture, they understand UD, right? We understand his value. But this guy, Tyler Conway of Bleacher Report, he tweets this out. He comment tweets on the video of UD in the huddle. He says, imagine playing 3 minutes of basketball all season and thinking you have the clout to do this, laughing my ass off. I'm so glad this loser got torched in the comments because every Heat fan was torching this guy. And he deserved it. Like, do you really not understand? I don't care if the guy played 3 minutes or 30 seconds. I don't care if Udonis Haslem sticks around for another 5 years and plays 3 minutes per season. If you don't understand how Udonis freaking Haslem has the clout to be an authoritative figure on this Miami Heat team, you must have just started watching Heat basketball 2 years ago. And it invalidates everything else you say about the NBA as far as I'm concerned. Anyone who doesn't understand UD thinking he has the clout to throw a chair in a huddle, like, come on, bro. Are you serious? Are you really serious? I hope somebody educated this dude about the Dirk Stopper, about the 06 finals, about the sacrifices Udonis Haslem has made to stay here, about the fact that even though Alonzo Mourning left before he came back, Dwayne Wade left before he came back, LeJudas James stabbed Mickey and Pat in the back, the way that he did in the summer of 2014. Udonis Haslem is the embodiment of Miami Heat culture. And as far as I'm concerned, give that guy a lifetime contract. If he wants to be a part of ownership, fine, make it happen. He doesn't want to be a coach. He said that. If he wants to be a part owner of the team and that's what gets him to retire, God bless him. But if Udonis wants to be taking up the 15th roster spot until he's 65 years old, I will be thrilled for him, okay? 844-416-8123 is the number. That's 844-416-8123. And on that note, we'll talk some Heat basketball, some NBA with Alex Toledo from the 5 Reasons Sports Network when we come back. Hey, start your morning every day at 8 a.m. with Toasted Sports. Toast covers all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. So download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Toasted Sports, 8 to 10 a.m. only at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Listen to every Inter-Miami CF match on your home for La Rosa Negra, OnSideRadio.com. Catch us every day on the MyTuner Radio app. Get the brutal honesty every day with the Onside Zone with a Big O from 12 noon to 3 p.m. every weekday on your home for sports talk in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com.
Join the Inter-Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. with an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
The Miami Marlins are back on the field tonight in Buffalo, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Sandy Alcantara will be on the mound for the Fish. First pitch is scheduled at 7:07. Last night in the NBA playoffs, the Washington Wizards stay alive with a 122-114 win over the 76ers. Joel Embiid left the game in the first quarter with a sore right knee, and the Utah Jazz took a commanding 3-1 lead in their series after a 120-113 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. Tonight, the Brooklyn Nets look to eliminate the Boston Celtics at 7:30. The Nets are 12.5-point favorites. Portland and Denver tip off at 9, and their series is tied at 2-2 with the Nuggets 1.5-point favorites. Lakers and Suns tip off at 10 with the Suns at a 5-point favorite, and AD is questionable for the game. Also in the news, Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open, and you are listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station. Coming up is more Man of the Match with Alex Donno right here at OnsideRadio.com.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
I know the season's over. Mercifully, it's over. But a big offseason coming up for our Miami Heat. We love to bring in our friend Alex Toledo. Does an awesome job on 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And, man, we got so much to get into. Alex, how you been, sir? How's life treating you?
Could be better. You know, I just came back from metaphorical Cancun. Just had to take a break from watching. And he went out.
Oh, I lost you for a second. You still there?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you were just telling me about Cancun, and it sounded lovely. And then I thought maybe like someone hacked your phone line or something because I lost you for a second. But did you get a nice tan down there?
The signal from Cancun, and by the way, I'm talking wholly metaphorically. I didn't literally go to Cancun, but yeah, I had to go to Cancun in the sense of not watching basketball for a couple of days because of the way that the Heat went out.
I took that so literally. I took that so literally. You pulled the Ted Cruz going down there. We're talking with Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor. Now, this may be a weird place to start, but I was just talking about this guy in the previous segment. So let me ask you, do you think Udonis Haslem is back on the roster next year? Because personally, I'm actually fine with it. I argue with some of my listeners about this. I think UD has enough clout. He can be taking up the 15th roster spot until he's 60 as far as I'm concerned. Is he back next year?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I think so, and I'm with you. I bring him back as long as he wants to be here, as long as he wants to keep working out and being in shape, because this whole argument that, you know, they could have another young guy there, sure, but that young guy is what, another Gabe Vincent, another Max Strus? Like, what are we talking about here? I'm good, man. This team needs some guts, and Haslam wasn't able to will them with their guts, and he seemed like he was the only one angry in Game 4. Me and him. It was just me and him. Game 4 was the only ones who were angry. But, like, yeah, if he wants to come back, and it seems like he does, bring him back. But also, if he just wants to retire out of disgust, I'm good with that too. I support whatever decision he makes.
Hey, I saw a quote the other day. Like, didn't he say something about how they haven't offered him an ownership stake? I hope that they would, because seeing Dwayne Wade buy into the Utah Jazz, that's fine. But I would love UD to buy into the Heat.
Oh yeah, of course I'm all about that. I think every Heat fan's dream was D Wade and UD taking a percentage out together and going from there into the sunset. But that's not going to happen. So I hope we can at least get one half of that, and UD can become a minority owner. I mean, it's only right. It's only right. Like I said, there's no hate towards Dwayne for doing what he did, but it would suck if UD ended up taking a stake in another team after Dwayne doing it, right? Like I think UD, his whole brand is Miami, Miami, Miami. I think he has. I would love for that to happen. But yeah, yesterday in the the end of season pressers, he was asked if watching Caron Butler, his former teammate, being on the coaching staff on the sidelines made him reconsider, because he's always said that he's not really interested in coaching. And he reiterated that, yeah, he's not interested in coaching, and instead asked the reporter back, why didn't you ask about my owner friend? So I think he's just very obviously hinting that he's way more interested in ownership than any type of coaching.
Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor joins us here on Onside Radio. So there's going to be a question on what happens with Duncan Robinson this summer as a restricted free agent. Now, my opinion on him has evolved, Alex, and I vaguely remember a conversation I had with you on this show about a month ago where I wasn't, hugely on board with the idea of bringing him back at potentially $20 million a season. Maybe they can get a discount from that. We'll see. I wasn't really on board with it a month ago. I think now I'm more at peace with the idea that he's harder to me to replace than, say, a Kendrick Nunn. And, for a shooter such as him, $20 million per season up to that kind of is the going rate in today's NBA. And I am now much more on board with keeping Duncan than I was about a month ago. What do you think happens there? Do you think he's going to end up sticking with Heat? And what do you think the price could be?
I mean, I would be shocked, really shocked, if he ended up on another team, unless there was some sort of scenario where the Heat are looking at a whale, and I think the only one who would come to mind is if the Kawhi thing ever became any type of real at all. If they were to go out in the first round and there was real smoke that Kawhi is available and thinking about leaving, I think it would have to be some sort of crazy scenario like that where they kind of have him waiting, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be one of their priorities this summer. If they really had any concern about paying him, I think it would have been wise to trade him during the season. And when that opportunity did arise, it didn't really happen. So I think he's going to be back on the team. I honestly would also be a little bit surprised if it's 20 mil or more, because it feels like guys like Joe Harris, Bogdanovich got paid a little bit less than that, and it feels like they're a little bit more skilled than Duncan, particularly Bogdanovich, who can handle the ball a little bit. Joe Harris has some counters. He can play a little bit of defense, and Duncan is starting to fill out that way, right? We saw some growth from him. So I'm all in on him. I'm bringing him back. He's a guy that you want on a team that is planning on contending. And I know it's hard to say that after they just got eliminated in 4 in the first round, but I do believe they still think of themselves as contenders, and that's what's going on in the locker room. And I don't think you give up on a guy like Duncan, especially when your 2 best players are not exactly shooters, and you need Duncan to manufacture that gravity. Also, having said that, I think because you can bring him back and it doesn't affect your cap space, it doesn't affect you being able to go after other guys, that makes it even easier to bring him back on just a good price, I think.
Yeah, that's well said.
I think they'll work with him, but, if you bring in another guy, another guard who takes pressure from Jimmy and Bam to have to do everything, I think that makes Duncan even better, just because there's more ways for him to get good looks. And so, yeah, I think regardless of what happens to this team, I think they need him.
Yeah, and you mentioned the names Jimmy and Bam as well. They're obviously untouchable. They're not getting traded. They're not going anywhere. Do you think, though, now that I start to see some talk about, Jimmy, who's got 2 more years left on his deal, about extending him further for a big money extension for 2 additional years, which would lock him up until he's no less than 36 years old. Is that smart business? Because I'm a little bit weary of that, but I'll say one thing. if that's kind of the tax for Jimmy to, and I'm thinking way outside the box here because I remember what Stephen A. Smith said last week. If he really knows anything, if Jimmy can work some kind of magic to bring Kawhi Leonard down here, then yeah, if that's kind of the tax you have to pay to get Jimmy in full recruiting mode, I would understand it. But do you think it's smart business to give Jimmy an extension till he's 36?
I'm definitely not qualified to talk about what's good or bad business as a journalism major, and it's just, a clueless young person. But really, I think if I had to come up with an answer, that's the cost of winning. That's the cost of a contender is paying your franchise players what they want. And honestly, man, it's what you're talking about, right? It's the other stuff that Jimmy brings off the court and just being able to recruit other guys. I think it's obvious that the Heat have locked themselves into this win now mode, and that's what happens, right? When you get into that mode, and we know they're going to be looking to add talent to make themselves better throughout the summer, especially after what happened. But when you're in that mode, I just think that's what you got to do. If Jimmy is pushing for that negotiation for the extension, and so is his agent, I think you got to do it. I don't think you want to start anything there. And as bad and as disappointing as Jimmy was in this first round, I know how gassed he was from putting the team on his back. I was all over him on 5 on the floor, but I'm trying to balance that line of being fair here. So I'm gonna give him some, a little bit of benefit of the doubt because of what he did in the bubble, right? And I think he's already shown you the value that he brings. And hopefully moving on from here, the team adds some talent and makes it easier on him so he doesn't have to do everything, right? Yeah. And I just think it is what it is, man. You're in winning time now. You're a win now team. If that's what they want, you give it to them.
I mean, is it really a win now team though? Because it was one of the things that I wonder. Because
not at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, because getting swept. It's embarrassing and it's tough for a competitive guy like Pat Riley. And the last time Pat Riley, a team of his, got swept in the first round was 2007 after they won a title the year before, and then after that, Riley really got aggressive in rebuilding the roster. So do you think that after what Riley saw in this Milwaukee series, that might have convinced him to make really drastic changes?
Definitely. I would not be surprised. It's kind of how Riley has operated in the past, too. And the 2007 thing, it's just so poignant that you bring that up. Me and Ethan have particularly brought that up a couple of times as this Bucks series played out. We got shades of 2014, the last year with LeBron, but also shades of 2007 after they won the title and then got swept in that first round by a Bulls team led by Ben Gordon, Luol Deng, and Ben Wallace.
Yeah, and Kirk Heinrich, I think, was on there as well.
Oh, God, Kirk Heinrich. How could I forget? But really, it's just those are the most relevant comparisons here, and I think the same thing, there's gonna be a revamp of the roster. I would be really surprised if there isn't at this point. I just don't think they're gonna come back with that same stuff. I think there's a lot of moving parts. Who are the guys that they have signed under contract? It's Jimmy, it's Bam, it's Tyler, and then it's KZ and Precious. And that's about it. So if they really want to shake some stuff up, they have the opportunity to. And, they have the cap space to go after a max player, and then they have some exceptions they can play around with. Hopefully you can get some of those older guys to come back on minimums, because I think that's how you can add depth with those exceptions is, adding other guys instead of, promoting some of your older players to exception money. I don't know. I just think they kind of have to be very careful with the way they use their money, because it's not like they have draft picks to trade anytime soon. So this is going to be a summer where it's going to be very important for if they're actually a contender going forward, because they showed that this roster, even with the context of COVID and the short turnaround and how tired they are, it's not a roster of a contender.
If you could have only one of these tonight, stone crab claws or lobster, what do you go with?
Man, toughest question of the day. I'm going to go stone crab lobster. Stone crab.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree. Because I wanted to get a vote here because in about 35 minutes I'm going to have on my good pal Antoine Staley to talk some football, but he tweeted something out yesterday about how he thinks crab claws or crab legs are overrated, so I need to take him to task for that.
I thought this was a Tito thing.
Surprisingly not, actually. This is one of the rare times that we have a quirky food conversation that Tito has zero to do with.
Oh, man. I mean, it's a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, it totally is. I appreciate your time as always, man. This guy does a great job. You want to follow Alex Toledo on Twitter at Tropical Blanket and check him out on 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Should be the essential Miami Heat podcast in your life. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you. You too. And get that Kyle Lowry pre-order ready.
Yes, thank you. Good stuff. 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. We will wrap up the 3 o'clock hour when we come back. Wow. Something I'm going to get to on the other side. This is a huge victory for Florida man and a huge loss for the rest of us, I feel. Hey, start your morning every day, 8 a.m. with Toasted Sports. He covers all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. So download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Toasted Sports, 8 to 10 a.m. only at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnSideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Every Thursday, NBA fans can catch one of the best basketball shows in the country when Ethan Skolnick and Ira Winderman host Inside the Paint. Listen to two of the most knowledgeable and connected reporters in the business. Get year-round insight every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. with Inside the Paint on the home for hardcore basketball fans. OnSideRadio.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Toast. May is here, which means hurricane season right around the corner. You need to get PGT custom windows and doors installed in your house so that you're fully protected when we get a big storm coming on through. For those windows, only one place to call. My buddies at B&T Windows and Doors. They've been doing it in South Florida for decades, and they will set you up with the best in the business. PGT Custom Windows and Doors. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126 for B&T Windows and Doors.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
When you're looking to add that extra style and protection for your home or business, visit A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie or Sunrise, where plantation shutters are a major part of our business, and they look great in any home. We have them in white, stained colors, and wood tones. We can even motorize your shutters like the one in the OnSideRadio.com studio. A Shade Above Window Fashions, 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashions.
You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Gotta tell you, man, for those of you listening who live in South Florida, and maybe you don't live here full time, because I know we have some listeners around the country, even some from other countries, right? even if you don't live here, but you've driven here before, you know the streets out there can be bonkers, okay? You spend a day driving on the Palmetto Expressway, you're going to see some things that'll give you PTSD, all right? You drive 95, oh my God, they lure you into those express lanes, and then you're paying an arm and a leg, and sometimes the express lanes get shut down. You don't realize it till you're already in them. It's horror. Driving down here is a pure horror, okay? But one of the few things that gave me a sense of moral superiority over other Miami drivers is, and Alex Aguirre, I don't know if this drives you crazy as well, but, you know, whenever you drive in the rain, like on the highway, you're driving in the rain, and I was always taught growing up and always taught that it's the law, you don't turn on your hazard lights just because it's raining. You don't, like, it's literally against the law. You do not turn on your hazard lights because it's raining. Hazard lights are supposed to be for when your vehicle is disabled, maybe you're pulled off to the shoulder, you're not moving, you want to be able to alert, you know, highway patrolmen or emergency vehicles, hey, there's a disabled vehicle, his hazards are on, that's how I identify him. So it's really not good, even if it's raining outside and the visibility is a little bit low. You're not supposed to be driving with your hazards on. That's for when your vehicle is in trouble or disabled. Like I was always taught this. It has been the law, and it's given me that moral sense of superiority, because when I see people on the highway driving with their hazards on in the rain, I curse at them, I get annoyed, I flip them the bird. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that I enjoy doing, all right? This is wild, okay? So a bill has just been passed by the Florida legislature. Starting July 1st, it is now going to be legal when conditions are low visibility, rain or fog. Starting July 1st, you can now legally drive with your hazards on. And honestly, I am appalled by this. Like, now, I guess our only last hope is the governor, Ron DeSantis, can veto this bill. I don't necessarily know why that would be a priority of his. Like, you know what? Maybe Ron DeSantis is as appalled by this as I am, and he's going to say, "Not on my watch. I'm vetoing this." But I don't have any reason to believe that the governor is going to veto this. He's probably going to let this through. So starting July 1st. It's going to be not only accepted, which it's been for way too long, but it's also actually going to be perfectly legal to turn your hazards on when it's raining and you're on the high. You've got to be driving on a road where you can drive at least 55 miles per hour, so it's not going to be like you're driving down like Kendall Drive or something. No, it has to be on one of the highways, 836, 826, I-95, I-75 Turnpike, whatever. But it's now going to be legal to turn the hazard lights on. And our government are a bunch of enablers, right? This is one of the most annoying thing that Florida man has been doing on our South Florida highways. And now at least I could say, now, you know what? They've never enforced this goddamn law. So maybe this makes no difference, because have you ever seen somebody getting pulled over because their hazard lights are on while they're driving? I've never seen it. Like, I don't think there is a cop on, in the 305 or the 954 who actually enforces this, but it's going to be legal starting July 1st. And I feel like our government is enabling idiots to now do this for fun. So this is very annoying. But for those who were wondering, is it actually legal to turn your hazards on while you're driving in the rain? Until July 1st, it is not. But July 1st on, yes, it will be legal. Tony 2 times writes in, we used hazards in Germany to warn the cars behind us about upcoming traffic jams or any other hazards, something I wish American drivers would adopt. You're right. American drivers have no idea. Oh, and by the way, the other thing that really annoys me about people driving with the hazards on is when your hazards are on, it negates your blinker. So if you're now, and keep in mind, it's probably raining when you're doing this, so this only makes it worse. So not only are you driving 50 miles per hour on the highway in the rain, but when you have your hazards on and you're changing lanes, I don't know you're changing lanes because your goddamn hazards are already on. So that negates the blinker, right? I mean, am I the last person on planet Earth who actually signals my lane change? Guys, you know what I do? When I'm on I-95 and I'm in the middle lane and I want to switch over to the right lane or the left lane, I put on the corresponding blinker. And I let the people know I'm coming, okay? Obviously I watch to make sure I'm not cutting somebody off, but I let everyone politely know with my turn signal I am moving into the lane to my right or to my left. I do that. If you have the hazards on, nobody knows where you're going if you're changing lanes because both blinkers are already going off. So it's chaos. It's hysteria. All right, we got the 4 o'clock hour coming up. I want to read some of the texts and the YouTube messages that have been coming in fast and furiously. I want to get to those. I also want to step into the roundtable here on Onside Radio. Hey, OnsideRadio.com, sports fans can always catch up with all of our daily segments by subscribing to Onside Radio on most podcasting platforms. Listen to us discuss the hottest topics on the roundtable. Esports fans get the latest with our E-Minute. Panthers fans, reporter David Dwork provides great insight. Our guy Austin Robillard covers Inter Miami CF with the kind of passion supporters groups crave. Alex Aguirre and Christian Chase provide the insight Marlins fans deserve. So subscribe, rate, and review to Onside Radio on all platforms. We are the station that has the passion South Florida fans deserve.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. Chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, 4 o'clock hour, man of the match with Alex Donno here on OnsideRadio.com. Taking you up until 6 o'clock tonight, up until Stephen D takes over Miami sports music for the fans. Got our guy Alex Aguirre riding shotgun. We'll have Antoine Staley coming on at 4:20. We'll talk some movies and entertainment with Billy Donnelly at 5:20. You know, we'll kind of get his scoop on the entertainment landscape these days because, I mean, my friends, it sounds like movie theaters are kind of a thing again. But I can't be the only one where, and I, for many years, basically my entire life, I've loved going to the movies, okay? I've kind of gotten used to the past 16 months. My TV has gotten bigger. Resolution is only seemingly getting better when it comes to 4K and the whole home experience. Like, I don't know, man. I think I've kind of reached a point where I'd rather, either just pay my monthly streaming subscription or maybe a few extra bucks to get a brand new movie, but watch it in the comfort of my own home on a 70-inch screen rather than, going to a movie theater and paying these exorbitant prices and the whole routine that comes with that. So, I'm sure that there's going to be like a rush for a lot of people to go back to theaters, and I'm going to do it probably sooner than later. I'll go back and catch a movie at some point. But I got to tell you that the habits that I'm developing of watching more stuff at home and not getting out to the theater a couple times a month, this might be here to stay for me, right? And I know a lot of people have been experiencing this with sports over the last few years, with TVs getting so much better, sports coverage on television getting so much better, that a lot of people just say, hey, I no longer feel the need to pay increasing ticket prices and parking prices because, ticket prices have been skyrocketing in recent years, that maybe I just rather watch the game at home, have a few friends over, barbecue, that might be the better routine than paying, like $40 to park my car and like $40-$50 per ticket to bring a couple people with me. Like, yeah, I think the landscape's changing a little bit, man. So I definitely want to talk about that and more with Billy Donnelly. So want to say hello to everyone who's in the YouTube chat. Remember, you can watch us live on YouTube. Search for Onside Radio. Subscribe to our channel. You can catch up on all the replayed shows there, right? You can catch Big O on the Onside Zone today. He talked a little Tebow and Jaguars, among other things. You can catch Toast, Kai Chen Chisholm, Stephen D after me. Just go to Onside Radio on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. And so not only can you watch replays, you can watch us streaming live as well, as many of you I'm sure are doing right now, and you can participate in the live chat. So we got Herman Cueva in there who says, afternoon, Onside family. He says he went by Hard Rock Stadium and was informed that in a couple of weeks, the team, he means the Dolphins, is going to start practicing beside the stadium. Fins up. Yeah, the new practice facility is ready to launch there. It's really incredible the speed at which construction happens at Hard Rock Stadium. I have been astounded by it, okay? A few years back, when Stephen Ross started the renovations to put the canopy over the stadium, and it's basically a new stadium. Like, it's anyone who grew up going to, Joe Robbie, Pro Player, all the hundreds of other names that it had, you grew up going to that stadium, and then you go to Hard Rock Stadium now, you feel like you're at a different place. Like, they did so much work to it. It was basically like getting a new stadium, even though it's technically the same stadium that it was before. It's the same bones, but they built on top of that. When they were doing that construction to put up the canopy and renovate everything, I really thought they were giving us bullshit when they used to tell us how fast they were building it. Like, they used to put out these press releases like, oh, we're targeting, whatever month it was to be completely done. And I know how things usually go down in South Florida. They promise you something with construction and you add a few extra months to it. But with the construction of Hard Rock Stadium, the renovations, they delivered on every single timetable and every single promise. And I saw the canopy go up at an astounding pace, okay? Then they build the tennis center, and that was built at a breakneck speed. I couldn't believe it. I used to go down there every week during the NFL and college football season covering games, and I would see the amount of progress they would make with the tennis center, and I was amazed by that. And then I start to see them build the practice facility for the Dolphins, and it's the same thing. They're building it so quickly, and they're going to have Formula One races now there starting next season. I mean, it's unbelievable how Hard Rock Stadium has turned into a hub. Right? You can catch professional and college football games there. You can catch professional tennis matches there. You can catch Formula One races. It's where the Dolphins are going to be practicing. So that's a very good shout there from Herman because, yeah, I knew that they were moving the practice facility there. I didn't realize it's already going to be done there so quickly. So that's pretty cool. So fins up indeed, my friends. We got Ray Grullon in the chat. We were talking earlier about hard seltzer, and he says, hard seltzer, low calories, but loaded in sodium as well. Is sodium really bad for you? Like, I hear people say that, but I have my doubts. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me for a second. Brooklyn Rob is in. He says about hard seltzer, he says, it's all about marketing. Grey Goose tasted like any other vodka, but the bottle was appealing. I'm not a big vodka guy. I'm more of a tequila and rum guy, and I've actually taken like a tequila tasting course. So when it comes to tequila, I kind of know what I'm looking for. Same thing with wine. Like I'm not claiming to be a sommelier or anything, but I've done enough wine tastings that I at least have a rudimentary idea what I'm tasting for. I know barely anything about vodka. So I want to ask you guys this question because I've noticed over the last several years that I'm not a big vodka drinker. I can't emphasize that enough. People rave about Tito's vodka. Is it really like better than most vodka options? Because like I know the people who go out of their way to drink vodka-based cocktails, like they get incensed if they're not offered Tito's. Like, oh no, I have to have Tito's vodka in my cocktail. I don't really understand it because I'm not a vodka drinker. I'm not even quite sure if I've even tasted Tito's or had any Tito's-based cocktails, but I notice people go crazy over Tito's vodka, and I'm wondering, is it really better than most other vodkas, or is it one of those things like Brooklyn Rob was saying where they just have a great marketing campaign because like they say it's organic and it's made in the USA, so so people go crazy. I'm just wondering, like, is Tito's actually better than most other vodkas, or do people just go crazy over it because, it's one of those trendy things? 90 MFC says about hard seltzer, it's 0 carbs in the seltzer. I think that is the catch on it and why people are big on them. I love carbs personally. It's probably why I'm like 30 pounds overweight, but I go out of my way to consume carbs. Like one of my favorite types of beer is I like the wheat beers, the Weissens, and man, those are like it's basically bread with alcohol in it. There's so many carbs in that stuff, man. There's so many, it's insane. Man, I can't believe that something I do want to circle back to. I want to devote a few minutes to this, but the media are still talking about the Miami Dolphins being interested in Deshaun Watson, even now, which I find to be a little ridiculous. Something I want to get into before Antoine Staley joins us, though. The Green Bay Packers, by all accounts, are ready to call Aaron Rodgers bluff. That's what's being reported today by Matt Schneidman of The Athletic, who put out a big story about Rodgers today, and good journalism all around, I thought. June 1st, which is today, is a very important milestone day because, they get a much lesser cap penalty to the Packers by dealing away Rodgers after June 1st than before June 1st. So some people were wondering, were they waiting for June 1st to make a deal? According to Matt Schneidman, the Packers are still dead set on keeping Rodgers, and they believe Rodgers will not carry through his threat of not playing for them again. So they're playing now a game of chicken, Rodgers and the Packers. So the Packers remain dug in, he writes. They won't trade Rodgers because, as a threshold matter, they don't believe he won't show up. that leads back to the prevailing question regarding Rodgers. Will he show up? The problem for the Packers is that even though they could have gotten a significant haul in return for Rodgers if they decided to trade him earlier this year, the seats have filled up elsewhere. The Broncos and maybe the Raiders remain the only possible trade partners. At some point, it makes sense to kick the entire issue until after the season, especially since any picks the Packers would peck for Rodgers would not come until the 2022 draft anyway. Let the 17 regular season games of 2021 play out. Let the teams that inevitably will decide to make a quarterback change realize that they'll be in the market, and then invite them all to the table for a bidding war to get Rodgers. But apparently the Packers really think that if they draw this hard line in the sand, Rodgers will not carry out his holdout, that he will show up. I honestly have my doubts. You know, I know that he would be losing a lot of money if he just doesn't show up, but he's got a lot of money to lose. Okay, that's the thing. It's like you talk about losing tens of millions of dollars in penalties, unpaid bonuses. Yeah, that'd be a big deal for a lot of people. Maybe it's not that big of a deal for Rodgers if he's really unhappy and wants to make a point. I brought it up several times on this show. You can't judge Rodgers the way you would judge most people, because most people are willing to bury the hatchet and bury a grudge. Aaron Rodgers doesn't talk to his own mother or his own brother. So that's not a guy you want carrying a grudge on you, because there's not any road back with Rodgers. And if he's got a grudge against the Packers, do they really think he's going to patch things up with the Green Bay Packers before he patches things up with his own mother and his own brother? I'm doubtful about that. I really am. I think that if that relationship is fractured between him and Green Bay, I think that relationship is fractured for good. You know, he's got the famous fiancée. He's out there hobnobbing with Hollywood celebrities. He's doing karaoke in Hawaii. By the way, I was watching ESPN with my 3-year-old this morning, and they showed this like little video clip of Rodgers, Shailene Woodley, Miles Teller, and Teller's wife in Hawaii. They were like top of some waterfall, and my 3-year-old is like, "Where is that?" And I tell him it's Hawaii. And he's like, "Can we go to Hawaii today?" is what my 3-year-old asked me. I'm like, "No, maybe we can go to Hawaii like next year or something. Assuming my Bitcoin goes back up. Maybe in a year we can go to Hawaii. Maybe not, because we've been in a nice long little dip here." So, I mean, Aaron is having the time of his life right now, and I don't know if he's in any rush to come back. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk some football with Antoine Staley, who does an awesome job with the Tallahassee Democrat, and he spent many years covering the Miami Dolphins, the Carolina Panthers. I want to get his take on everything going on. Hey, Onside Radio understands that gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, Kai, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it is podcasted daily. Search Onside Radio on all platforms, subscribe, rate, and review. OnsideRadio.com, the station gamers call home.
Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnsideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnsideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
The 25-year-old was reportedly arrested this past week near Vail, where a sheriff's deputy said he saw Camargo's car speeding and changing lanes erratically, which is always really smart. When you're carrying a lot of drugs, you want to speed, you want to swerve, you want to look like you're drunk and high and all that. You want to cause as much attention. You want to bring as much attention to you when you're carrying a load of drugs. That's out there, you drug dealers, you criminals, bring all the attention possible to you while you're committing a crime. It's really, really smart.
The Onside Zone with Big O, only on OnsideRadio.com.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody Ass family. Dr. Moody Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer around the world. Stout Bar features Clonakilty whiskeys, the world's best Irish whiskey.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
Fish fans, time to reel in the latest news in baseball with OnSideRadio.com's Marlins Minute. Here's Alex Aguirre.
The Miami Marlins road trip continues today as they take on the Toronto Blue Jays for some more interleague action. The Fish had the day off yesterday traveling, but instead of going to Canada, they arrived in Buffalo, New York at Salem Field, the temporary home for the Blue Jays. Tonight, Sandy Alcantara will be on the mound for Miami looking for his third win on the season, and he'll be facing off against the left-hander for Toronto, Robbie Ray. The Marlins offense struggling has been the theme throughout the season, and it's been highlighted in the last 5 games, only scoring 9 runs and going 1-4 in that span. It doesn't help that their left side of the infield with Miguel Rojas and Brian Anderson are out on the IL. Just like Miami, Toronto has had their fair share of injuries, and this 2-game series will not feature Kevin Biggio and George Springer. Miami has a chance to close the gap in the NL East against a struggling Blue Jays squad, as they are currently only 4.5 games behind the New York Mets for the division lead. First pitch is at 7:10. Let's go Fish.
Keep up with the latest on the Miami Marlins by subscribing on most platforms by searching Onside Radio.
ADHD. It's the child who can't pay attention or sit still in school, right? The answer may be yes. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, can be complicated, and it can last a lifetime. Living with a condition can sometimes be a challenge. It may take years to accept a formal diagnosis, and it's not always easy to find the right treatment plan. Did you know that up to 75% of children and adolescents with ADHD have at least one additional mental health condition that also requires a comprehensive approach to treatment? ADHD guidelines were recently updated to reflect the need to screen for associated disorders. Be sure to talk with your child's doctor about proper screening and visit moretoadhd.com for additional information. That's moretoadhd.com. This message has been brought to you in partnership with ADA, ACO, and CHAD.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, you know we love bringing on our good friend, and we love bringing him on at 420. Antoine Staley from the Tallahassee Democrat joins us here on Onside Radio. Good afternoon, Antoine. How's your week treating you so far?
It's been going good. Just staying busy. A lot of things going on. How's things down there in your end? I was down that way this weekend.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. A little rainy today, and glad you're going to be down here in June, not July, because starting July, it's actually going to be legal to drive with your hazard lights on in the rain, which people down here already do anyway. But yeah, now it's actually going to be legal to do it. So it's going to be pure chaos down here, man.
Oh God. Oh God. That's good. That's going to be like insane.
It's going to be absolutely wild. Now, you know, I got plenty of football to talk with you, but I wanted to talk a little seafood off the bat because I had some fun with a tweet you wrote yesterday. Now, first, I thought it was funny. You were responding to that photo, which became a meme of that dude at some restaurant in Brickell. I've never heard of this restaurant. I can't pronounce it. but this dude racked up a $6,200 tab. Have you ever paid a $6,200 tab at a restaurant? I have not.
I ain't paid. I don't know if I paid $62,000 for much of anything outside of maybe a car or like a house or something like that. But no, that's just insane to me. I think the most I've ever spent on a dinner was probably about $400 at Shula's, but that was really about it.
Yeah, I'm probably around that neighborhood as well. And every now and then, like you get some steaks, you get maybe a bottle of wine in there, and it starts to add up. So yeah, I've been there as well. But you tweeted something that it caught my attention, and I took issue with it. You tweeted that crab legs are overrated. You can't really feel this way, sir. Like stone crab to me. Now, like I mentioned in my comment, not all crab is created equal. Some crabs are better than others, but I will take stone crab over even lobster.
Yeah, that's different though. I don't consider stone crab like crab legs though, even though technically it's in the same range. But I was talking about Jameis Winston crab legs. That's kind of the crab legs I was talking about. Like those to me are overrated because you're doing all that work and then you're getting minimal meat in return. Now stone crabs is different. Now, I like crab cakes. I love crab cakes. Yeah. Now those are different animals. Like I love those things. But yeah, I mean, why am I going to spend that much time getting that little bit of crab out of the shell when I could just have a lobster and I think it has more meat to it? That's all I was saying.
Well, and you're right, because with some of those crab legs, it's like you probably burn more calories eating it than you do preparing it than you actually, calories you actually take in eating it. So it's probably great diet food at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, you opening it up and you're cracking it and doing all that stuff, and then you're like, oh, this is the reward. Oh, great, Yeah, I really don't get it. Some people like it, but yeah, I prefer. If I'm going to do that, I prefer lobster.
Nice. By the way, you've lived a number of places on the eastern seaboard here in the U.S. Where is like the place that you've lived that has the best seafood? Where would that be for you?
Whew, that's tough. I think Maryland is up there too. Maryland has really good seafood, especially the crab cakes it's bar none. That's the best place I believe. Florida has good seafood too. It's different. I'll say this though. I think, not to put my North Carolina bias on, but I think North and South Carolina especially, I like fried seafood. So it's a little different. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like it fried, but yeah, I just kind of like it because I'm a Southerner and that's kind of, we fry everything. So I think they do a good job with just frying seafood, especially when you go near the beach area in Wilmington and Myrtle Beach. They have really good fried seafood places.
Well, on that note, one of my favorite places, and I've only been there on one trip, and I want to go back, but I had some incredible seafood in New Orleans, and a lot of a lot of that was fried, like shrimp po' boy. Like I did have a lot of raw oysters there, which is one of my favorites. But shrimp po' boy and some of the seafood jambalaya. Like, oh man, that was so good. Yeah. So that was up there for me.
Yeah, for also too, and near that area, not too far away from that area, Mobile, Alabama, for the Senior Bowl, they have some great seafood places there too. So if anybody's ever down up in Mobile, then I would definitely recommend going to a lot of seafood places because that's one of the best places you can find it.
Antoine Staley joins us here on Onside Radio. Today's June 1st, which is a landmark day for NFL roster moves, and one of the things we were kind of wondering is, once you clear the June 1st hurdle, does that mean it's more likely for the Green Bay Packers to trade Aaron Rodgers because they take less of a cap hit doing it after June 1st rather than before June 1st? A good piece from The Athletic came out today basically saying that the Packers, they're calling Aaron's bluff. Like they really don't believe that Rodgers is going to hold out, and they're not going to give in to his demands. They think he's going to show up eventually. Do you think they're playing it the right way? Because I think they should have traded him already, Antoine. Because if they had done it before the draft, they would have known, exactly what picks they were acquiring from whatever team they traded with. So, but do you think if the Packers really are calling his bluff and they think he's going to show up, do you think he will prove them wrong?
I think he could. I think it could blow up in their faces. Look, they took Jordan Love, and no matter what they can say, they can spin it however they want to. You don't trade up to grab a quarterback in the first round unless you have at some point you're thinking about playing them. Now, they in their mind they wasn't thinking about playing them in the first couple of years or maybe the first 3 years, and then they talk about extension and all this, and I don't believe that at all because why would Aaron Rodgers want to re-sign there when, you have somebody in the wings of Jordan Love? But, yeah, I agree with you. I think they should have traded him a long time ago because now it's just going to be a messy situation for Matt LaFleur and the organization, and they're going to have to keep answering questions about Aaron Rodgers and this and that. Just imagine when training camp comes. So I hope Jordan Love's ready. Because it seems like to me, Aaron Rodgers is saying, you know what, I could go away, just be with my beautiful wife and, not play football once again. And I think it'd be better in their best interest to at least try to get something for him. I know they don't want to be the team that trade away Aaron Rodgers, but then again, the Colts released Peyton Manning, and then they ended up being okay. I mean, it's fine. Joe Montana ended up going to the Chiefs. I mean, it happens. Like, legends leave other places, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be a Green Bay Packer when it's all said and done. Brett Favre left there, and he's still considered a Packer. So, yeah, I think they need to eventually just get off their high horse and end up trading them.
Now, one quarterback who definitely sounds ready for the season is Pat Mahomes. He was doing a promotional golf tournament this past week, and he spoke to the media, and he said that his goal – and listen, I admire this because I think every confident player should feel this way. But he talked about how he wants the Chiefs to go 20-0 this coming year to be the first undefeated team since the '72 Dolphins. And listen, it is a reminder that because there's so much talk about the Buccaneers. Will they repeat as champions? But I do believe the Chiefs got better, and they're addressing that offensive line that was problematic in the Super Bowl last year. Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs, would you consider them favorites in your mind? Like today, June 1st, 2021, who do you consider to be the favorite to win the next Super Bowl?
I think it's the Chiefs because, as you said, they've gotten better in every aspect of their team. I feel like, which is I think it's scary to think about, especially when you look at the draft and what they were able to do. But yeah, I think it started out with that offensive line and just getting the parts that they've had there and addressing that, and that looks much better. So I think even if they just address that in itself, I think that would have been good enough for me to pick the Chiefs to end up winning the Super Bowl. And I feel like they got, like I said, you get a Creed Humphreys in the second round. You end up getting Nick Bolden, who I think was one of the more underrated linebackers in the draft too as well. And I think they got some good quality guys that could potentially end up, helping that team, especially with the depth that they could have. Joshua Kando from Florida State, probably not a name a whole bunch of people know, but I think especially with their defensive line, he could be a good rotational guy. Noah Gray from Duke, somebody that I think 6'4", 240. Obviously not going to supplant Travis Kelce, but somebody that could be a good number 2 tight end. Like the Chiefs need any more weapons. So yeah, I think I think they put themselves in position. I don't think they're going to go 20-0 because it's hard to go undefeated anyway. But to win 20 games, I don't see that happening. But they could certainly only lose 1 or 2, and I don't think people would be totally shocked.
Travis Kelce is old news because there's a new elite tight end in the National Football League, and his name is Timothy Tebow, who is now he's gone through some OTAs practices in Jacksonville, and anyone who actually knows football knows you take OTAs with a grain of salt, but the reports have actually been good that he does not look out of place at OTAs with Jacksonville. So do you think that this experiment by Urban Meyer might pay off, Antoine? Because a lot of people have been joking about it. Like, you can't just take this guy 8 years away from the NFL who's never played tight end and actually expect him to have an impact in the NFL. Like, do you think, and I know you're a Florida guy and you've covered the Gators before, so you know more about Tebow than most. Do you think this could actually work?
I have a hard time believing it does. I mean,
I set it up and then you knocked it right down. I love it.
Yeah, first of all, he has not played in a game in, like you said, 8 or 9 years almost. So he's 34 years old. Yes, he's gotten bigger. He looks like a tight end when you walk in the room. But, they're in shorts right now. Everybody can look good in shorts and T-shirt in practice. I take that with a grain of. Let me know when he gets the pass on and somebody hits him in the mouth and he can get it back up from that. Let me see what he can do there, and then that'll determine, and then his hands and stuff like that from there. Because I have a hard time believing. I think it's an uphill battle for him, but Urban Meyer's going to give him every single opportunity to try to make the roster, and they're really good friends. So I definitely could see that happening. Maybe him screeching out and getting on the 53-man roster, but yeah, I have a hard time believing, especially Jacksonville is solely about trying to win.
Yeah.
And just like they say they are, instead of selling jerseys, then yeah, he's not going to be on the 53-man roster. But it's helping the jersey sales right now. I mean, a lot of people waste the money on Tim Tebow jerseys, which I don't want to hear a person complain about buying jerseys again when you're out buying Tim Tebow jerseys. It makes no sense to me.
And some of my listeners owe me apologies because, whatever it was a week, 2 weeks ago when his jersey first went on sale, I tweeted out and I talked about it on the show where I told people Tim Tebow is going to, between now and the start of the season, once the season starts, I can't predict anything after that, but between now and September, I said Tim Tebow will sell more Jaguars jerseys than Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of people made fun of me for saying that. Like, oh, Donno, you're crazy. Lawrence, #1 draft pick, generational quarterback. Like, people need to realize you cannot underestimate Tim Tebow, who is a religious icon. I mean, the Catholics have the Pope. Buddhists have Buddha. Protestants have Tim Tebow. He is a religious icon. He's from Jacksonville, and he played at Florida, and most people in Jacksonville are Gators fans, so it's unstoppable. I mean, the guy may not play a single down in an actual NFL season again, but he's going to sell maybe 1 million jerseys between now and the season.
Yeah, and he has his stains, too. Like, you got to remember that, too. Yeah. Like, he is a ton of Tim Tebow stains, for good or for better or for worse. And, they would defend that man through hell if they had to. Seriously. No pun intended. But, yeah, they would defend him no matter what. Like, I talked about it on Twitter, and people have kind of like, oh, well, it's Tim Tebow. He can do anything. And I'm like, okay, we'll see.
If he could do anything, why didn't it work out the last time playing quarterback?
Or why did he work out with baseball? Even though, I mean, like, I think he's gotten a lot of opportunities. Yeah. He's fortunate. He's gotten a lot of opportunities that a lot of people in life do not get because he's Tim Tebow. It's not necessarily fair, but he is getting these opportunities. But yeah, I like I say, he has a wide range of fans that's just perplexes me at times. Even me following the Gators, like I just can't get it down with that.
Yeah, and it's like I get it, but like you said, like people need to stop pretending that all of his likability means he's gonna be an elite athlete, because if it worked that way, he never would have left the NFL. He never would have had to leave baseball. So yeah, no.
And also say, like, real quick too, it's not like people think I'm slamming Tim Tebow, the person. Like, I think he's a great guy. I really do. Yeah. It's just I just think the opportunity and what's going on is just ridiculous in itself. Like, it's not him. I just think it's him going to play minor league baseball when and thinking he's going to make the majors when he hadn't played baseball and God knows how long, and then he lasted longer than I ever thought he would have. But yeah, I just think the whole situation is just head scratching.
Well said. Good stuff here as always from Antoine Staley. You can follow him on Twitter at Antoine Staley, ANTWAN Staley. Check out his work with the Tallahassee Democrat, Tallahassee.com. Antoine, thank you so much, man, for the insight as always. And thank you for the clarification on the seafood, because I would hate to think you thought stone crabs were overrated. So the clarification was very important, and that's why I had to get you on to talk about it.
Oh, no, I will be having some stone crabs probably at Monty's this weekend. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
That's great, man. Enjoy your trip.
All right, man. I talk to you soon, Donno.
Good stuff there. Antoine always brings it strong, my friends. 844-416-8123. So apparently this would not have been my personal guess, but apparently basketball is actually the greatest sport in the world, and we have proof. Coming up next, hey, Heat and NBA fans, speaking of that, can catch Ira Winderman here exclusively at OnsideRadio.com with our Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat reports. Catch Ira throughout the week at OnsideRadio.com and when news breaks. Basketball fans know Onside Radio is the place you get the insight you need.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnsideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnsideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. Chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
The Miami Marlins are back on the field tonight in Buffalo, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Sandy Alcantara will be on the mound for your Fish, and first pitch is at 7:07. Last night in the NBA playoffs, the Washington Wizards stayed alive with a 122-114 win over the 76ers. Joel Embiid left the game late in the first quarter with a sore right knee. Utah Jazz took a commanding 3-1 lead after a 120-113 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. And tonight, Brooklyn looks to eliminate the Boston Celtics at 7:30, and the Nets are 12.5-point favorites. Portland and Denver tip off at 9, and their series is tied 2-2. And the Lakers and Suns tip off at 10 p.m., with the Suns a 5-point favorite, and Anthony Davis is questionable for tonight's game. Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open. And guys, don't forget, you're listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station. And coming up, it's more Man of the Match with Alex Donno right here at OnsideRadio.com.
Riddle me this. With all this sizzling meat and crunchy veggies nestled between toasty flatbread, who should get credit for Papa John's new papadilla? The person who invented pizza or the person who invented folding? Well, whoever it is, a tip of the tongue hat to you, sir or madam. Get a new papadilla, 4 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's.
My daughter Brinley is here at St. Jude. Coming here was literally life or death, and it was so scary. But St. Jude is fighting for one goal, like this one mission, life. And that gave us hope. We haven't received a single bill from St. Jude, so I really can just focus on what's best for Brinley.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
So I found this to be interesting. Pope Francis says that basketball is the most divine sport. I guess it's settled then. I guess basketball reigns supreme. Catholic News Agency reports Pope Francis had the highest praise for the sport of basketball in an address to the Italian Basketball Federation. He said, quote, "I would like to say one thing with basketball in mind. Yours is a sport that lifts you up to the heavens because, as a famous former player once said, it is a sport that looks upwards towards the basket. And so it is a real challenge for all those who are used to living with their eyes always on the ground." That's actually kind of profound. Who was it that said that? I don't know. He mentioned a famous I don't know who to attribute that quote to. The Pope continued. He said, quote, "I would also like this to be a noble task for you, to promote healthy play among children and young people, to help young people to look up, to never give up, to discover that though life is a journey made up of defeats and victories, the important thing is not to lose the desire to play the game." It's actually pretty profound. I like that. I appreciate that. Well done, Pope. How about this? Jake Paul has his next boxing match. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's going to happen, I believe, in August. They finalized this for. Jake Paul, who's now with Showtime Boxing, he is going to step into the boxing ring to fight former UFC champion Tyron Woodley. I don't like any part of this, guys. I'm a big Tyron Woodley fan, although Tyron, for the last couple of years, finito. Like, he's finished. It's why he's no longer in the UFC. But again, like, what annoys me about this is, okay, Jake Paul, if you go by the contract that he signed, he's now with Showtime Boxing. Like, it was one thing when he was boxing with Triller, which is a promotion that does, circus fights, right? Purely entertainment. Like, Triller is where retired guys like Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. come to box each other. That's where Jake Paul fought Nate Robinson under the Triller banner. He fought Ben Askren under the Triller banner. I had hoped when Jake Paul, who does have some talent, by the way, boxing, I'm not going to take that away from him. He clearly he knows what he's doing in the ring, and that's another reason why I want him to fight actual professional boxers. And I was hoping that when Paul, who's famous for being a YouTuber, we know, when he inked a contract with Showtime Boxing, I was hoping that meant he was actually going to fight professional boxers, because all of his pro fights to this point have been against either other YouTubers, washed-up NBA players, or a washed-up former MMA fighter in Ben Askren, who I'd never seen thrown a punch in my life. For those who actually watch Ben Askren fighting in Bellator and in ONE FC in the UFC, strictly a wrestler, would only look for takedowns, terrible hands, never threw punches ever. Now, Tyron Woodley in his prime, Tyron could throw some punches, had decent hands. I say had because I don't know if he's got it anymore, because Tyron's fall over the cliff skill-wise was precipitous, the drop that Tyron's had over the last couple of years. Like, he has been washed, okay? So I really don't know what to do with this fight. Now, Woodley has never been a professional boxer before. He's a former professional MMA fighter with a wrestling background, by the way. I mentioned Tyron had some decent hands in his prime. Tyron was never a boxer by trade. Like, he's not an MMA fighter with a striking background. Tyron was a collegiate wrestler at Missouri, was part of a great program. Michael Chandler was there. Ben Askren he wrestled with. A friend of mine, J.P. Reese, was on that wrestling team. It was a Missouri Wrestling Mizzou at a stacked wrestling team, especially at that time, and he was part of that, but he's not really a boxer, and he's washed. And I just, if Jake Paul wants to be taken seriously by actual fight fans, you've signed a professional boxing lucrative Showtime contract. I used to respect Showtime as an actual boxing promoter. Fight someone who's a real boxer. And I know why they're doing this, because Tyron Woodley has crossover appeal coming over from the UFC. He's got a name. They don't want to put Jake Paul up against some up-and-coming boxer, because then nobody's ever heard of it. They're not going to be able to sell the fight as much. It's sad, right? It's really disgusting, because I used to look to Showtime, HBO boxing when they were around. You used to go to them as actual guardians of the sport, of the sweet science, where you get serious, legitimate fights. and they're turning it into Triller. Like, they're turning it into a freak show. Like, why is Jake Paul fighting people who are not professional boxers in a professional boxing ring? Like, it's absurd. I understand why it's happening. That was a rhetorical question. Why is it happening? Showtime's combat sports ratings have been down, right? Bellator has not been putting up big ratings for them in MMA. Their boxing ratings have been down. I would assume their subscriber count is probably down. And why is their subscriber count down? Because now, people who would have normally subscribed to Showtime, they're probably already paying for HBO because HBO is more popular than Showtime. And now you've got to think about managing Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, there's a Disney Plus, there's 150 streaming services now, and all of that is cutting into Showtime. So Showtime has lost a big piece of their pie revenue-wise, and now they're struggling for subscribers, they're struggling for ratings, so they're signing a circus freak show fight like this. And I'm not really a fan of this because I was kind of hoping, and again, like Jake Paul, he actually seems to have some boxing talent, so I really wanted him to actually fight a real boxer. Mike No Go Zones asks, who are the idiots paying to see Jake Paul fight? Teenage girls, bro. Is that who what? Alex Aguirre, do you know anything about like who watches? I've literally never watched Jake Paul on YouTube in my life. Is he popular with teenage girls, teenage boys? Like who actually watches it? Who watches his content? Because I've never watched this dude.
I've never seen his content. I don't know much about them, to be honest with you. I guess young females would be attracted to them. I guess I don't know. They're just annoying in my opinion. I never even liked them when they were actually like famous on just YouTube, not for their antics outside of YouTube. I just was never a fan. I don't find them funny. I find them annoying. So like that's why I'm kind of happy and I'm hoping to see them get their asses kicked.
Well, the thing is, like, Logan Paul really blows. Like, Jake Paul should be fighting Floyd Mayweather this weekend, not Logan Paul. Logan Paul can't punch his way out of a paper bag. Jake Paul actually has some talent. Like I watched Jake Paul, and again, he's not fighting actual boxers, so you take it with a grain of salt. But I know what it looks like when you see somebody who's got decent footwork, head movement, decent technique with their punches, and like. Jake Paul is not terrible, right? And like Logan Paul is embarrassing, and Floyd Mayweather is going to thoroughly humiliate him. But like Jake should be the one fighting Floyd, not Logan. So I don't understand why they're doing it that way. Joseph Rodriguez says, "Let's go T. Woodley." I'll be rooting hard for T. Wood. I like T. Wood, and I'm happy. I'm sure he's making some money off of this. Like, I'm sure Tyron is making a good chunk of change. So I'm happy for him. Listen, I mean, Tyron is a good guy. I thought that he's gotten a lot of, I think, unfair coverage over the years by the media because he can be a little surly. He doesn't really always want to play the media games. I can understand fighters like that. The Diaz brothers, who are my favorite fighters of all time. They've had their back and forths, their spats with the media before. So, yeah, I'm rooting for Tywin for sure. Tony 2 times writes in, the quote-unquote sports angle is done. It's all about the spectacle now. Yeah, the thing is, like, why I'm so upset about this is I would have thought Showtime would be a safe haven from this lunacy, okay? Like, you would like to hold Showtime, the UFC, you'd like to hold them to a higher standard. We've seen it creep into the UFC as well. CM Punk got a couple of fights in the UFC, and he was thoroughly embarrassing. That guy had no business ever stepping to the octagon. Now, the only saving grace was they weren't doing CM Punk fights in the main event, and they actually had CM Punk fighting MMA fighters, right? Because, it wasn't like they said, oh, we got CM Punk, so, okay, let's find, like, another former pro wrestler who's never fought before and have them fight. So at least, like, they had him fight Mickey Gall, who thoroughly kicked his ass. I think the other guy that fought him was Mike Jackson, who wasn't great, and I think he lost a close fight, but at least Mike Jackson can scrap a little bit, and he had a pro record. It's like, I don't know. So that wasn't quite as bad. But, the UFC is guilty of this as well. But I really would have thought that Showtime boxing would be a safe haven from a circus like this. But they've now become Triller 2.0, and it really is unfortunate. All right, we'll wrap up the 4 o'clock hour when we come back here on Onside Radio. Hey, Florida Panthers fans have a place to call home. Every Saturday morning, as Cats insider David Dwork hosts Chirping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. Onside Radio is committed to all sports, and Panthers fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. with David Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
Big O, Tito is not allowed in the Boom Boom Room. Never seen Smokey and the Bandit. Never seen Top Gun. What's the matter with these kids? Look at that. Now you can't hang out with Salma, Paige, Sophia. See, now you can't hang out with the ladies because you have not seen Top Gun.
Yeah, I would just hope that, like I said, the Boom Boom Room is sanitized. I would hope.
Well, I don't know, but did you hear about the 81-person orgy?
No.
What is wrong with you?
The Onside Zone with Big O, only on OnsideRadio.com. You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
Can I get a captain?
Captain and what?
Captain and Ginger.
I can't hear you.
Captain and Ginger.
He was a captain and ginger. Captain and ginger. He was a captain and ginger.
Captain Morgan, official partner of Major League Soccer.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
So we were just talking about boxing. Thought I'd bring this up. This was a funny tweet. I think he talked about this on his show as well. Kai Chen Chisholm tweeted out, topic of conversation here on Onside Radio. Okay, well, he definitely talked about it on his show. That would be a context clue. He asked, what is the minimum amount of money you would take in order to get knocked out by Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? I'm assuming he knows Muhammad Ali is dead, by the way, right? Like the way he worded that tweet makes it sound like Muhammad Ali could walk in here and punch me in the face right now. Then the man is passed. I'm assuming he knows that, but he says, what is the minimum amount of money you take in order to get knocked out by Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? I said $2 million, wrote Kai. What say you? Honestly, bro, I'll admit, I would do it for a lot less than $2 million. Let's be real here. Alex Aguirre, I want to get your take on this as well. And since Muhammad Ali is deceased, I'm going to take him out of this conversation. But let's say Mike Tyson, who can still throw a punch, okay? Mike Tyson walks into our Onside Radio studios and says, I will offer you money if you let me knock you out. How much money do you need for this habit? Honestly, I think Kai is setting the bar kind of high at $2 million. $2 million, obviously, that's life-changing money. But let me tell you, as a married guy, if he offered me or someone offered me $500,000 to get knocked out by Mike Tyson, I would have a hard time explaining to my wife why I'm turning that money down. Let's be real here. I've got a child. I've got bills to pay. He's going to be, I would assume he's going to go to college someday. I hope he wants to go to college, my kid. I'm going to force him to go to college whether he wants to or not. So I got a lot of expenses coming up for the next several decades of my life. Yeah, I would certainly ask for something like $2 million. But then if the counter offer was $500K, take it or leave it, I think I'm taking it, bro. Because, yeah, I'm going to get knocked out. It's going to be uncomfortable. I might get concussed. But I wake up with $500,000. That seems like a nice parting gift. So I draw the line at $500K. I think that's the minute. It would have to be at least that much, I think, like just in case there could be like some traumatic brain injury. I would set the floor at $500,000. I think that's a little bit more realistic than Kai's $2 million demand. What about you, Alex? How much money would it take for you to take a knockout from Mike Tyson?
I mean, like, I would love $2 million. I would do it for $2 million.
But what would be the minimum?
The minimum?
Well, what's the amount of money you say, you know what, I can't turn this down?
Like 200,000.
Wow, I like it. So you say I respect it. You're being honest. Like I respect that.
Around, like, okay, like,
yeah,
I mean, 250.
Okay.
Final offer.
250K.
Yeah.
You could buy some nice stuff with that, man.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think, okay, like, I'm going to have some medical bills after this, so I got to get some money in return.
If you have health insurance, it probably covers that. Or, you know what, maybe Mike Tyson would step up and say, I put you in the hospital, I'll pay your bills.
Oh, that'd be very nice of him. Yeah, because I don't know, like, how can I explain to the doctor? So how did you get in here? It's like, I took a bet, and I got hit in the face by Mike Tyson.
Always lie.
The doctor will be thinking I'm lying. If I told him that, I think you're really concussed. You think you got punched by Mike Tyson.
I got hit by a truck, doctor. Let's do this now.
Yes, Mike Tyson is a freaking truck. That's for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. I think I would set the bar at. I think I'd go $500K. Joseph Rodriguez says to get KO'd, a simple KO or a Francis Ngannou Overeem kill shot. There's a difference. I would say probably a simple KO. I mean, you can try to dance around and like duck his punch if you want to. You're probably not going to go anywhere, but you're standing in front of Tyson mano a mano, and he's going to knock you out. Like, I guess there's like a slight chance it ends up being, a really, really like a Mortal Kombat fatality type of move. But let's assume simple knockout. All right, Joseph Rodriguez says, I'm thinking around $300 or $400K. I'm with you. I mean, I think to ask it, and obviously you would start the bidding in the seven-figure range, of course. Like, you would want to get as much as possible, but if it came down to, $500,000, take it or leave it, I'm taking it. I mean, if you've never been knocked out before in your life, one knockout is probably not going to give you CTE. It's usually like a pattern of that, so you'd probably be okay long-term from one knockout. So I think I'm taking my chances. All right, 5 o'clock hour here on Onside Radio. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., soccer fans can connect with Austin Robillard and Red Card Radio. From the Premiership to the MLS, catch up with your favorite team, including our very own Inter Miami CF. Listen to Red Card Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with Austin Robillard, exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody Ass family. Dr. Moody Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the Radio.net app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
Hey, it's Toast, and when I got PGT custom windows and doors installed at my house last year from B&T Windows and Doors, I knew that I was protecting my house when it came to hurricanes. But I was also investing in my house. My value went up. My home insurance cost went down. Yeah, I can now get more for my house when I sell it because I have PGT custom windows and doors installed courtesy of my buddies at B&T Windows and Doors. Just another reason why you should upgrade your house today. Give them a call, 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126, B&T Windows and Doors.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnsideRadio.com studio. Call A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Miami Dolphins fans can always count on the best coverage at OnsideRadio.com. Every week, keep up with your favorite team as Dolphins writer Omar Kelly joins us with exclusive reports. And when news breaks, catch the EJDConstruction.com Miami Dolphins report on the home for Dolphins fans everywhere, OnsideRadio.com. You're listening to the flagship station of Inter Miami CF, OnsideRadio.com. Follow us on social media at Onside Radio.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, 5 o'clock hour here of Man of the Match with Alex Donno. I'm Alex Donno, and I'm with you guys here on OnsideRadio.com, taking you up to Miami sports music for the fans with Stephen D, 6 to 7 o'clock tonight. Got our guy Alex Aguirre here in studio. We are live as always, and you know what? The weather's getting a little better here. I can still see off to the east what looks like rain showers, but directly over our heads here, it's we have like at least a little bit of sun over our heads, which is nice. I hope it stays this way an hour from now when I'm driving home. We're inside Drive Pink Stadium here, the home of Inter Miami CF. Was just looking, by the way, I retweeted this. If you guys want to check this out on my Twitter account, at Alex Donno. Donno spelled D-O-N-N-O. ESPN, I had seen these before, but ESPN just tweeted out to ESPN FC to their, I would assume, millions of followers. Yeah, 2.5 million followers. The latest artist renderings of Inter Miami's future permanent home, Miami Freedom Park, which they have not broken ground yet on, but everything I understand is the project, it's going to happen. I know people are wondering, when's it going to happen? Are there any hurdles to clear? I think there are some minor hurdles left still to clear, but they're very optimistic. And these artist renderings, dude, look awesome. I mean, this looks to me on par with, some of the nicer stadiums I've seen in Europe. And I'm sure this is going to be a little bit smaller than some of the European stadiums. I think we're talking about capacity like in the 30 to 32,000 range, I believe, or like in the high 20s, I think. But it's a really nice looking building. I mean, the canopy over every section, it's almost completely enclosed. The grounds around the stadium look beautiful. So this is really nice. If you guys can check this out, go to my Twitter page at Alex Donno, and I retweeted ESPN FC. They sent out the artist renderings for Miami Freedom Park, and I'm pumped, man. I think in a couple of years we'll be holding games there, and we'll have our studios, in a couple of years moving into to Miami Freedom Park. But I'm loving the Fort Lauderdale Fortress in the meantime. Drive Pink Stadium has been a beautiful, beautiful home to the club here now for the second season. Want to step into the roundtable. Tuesday roundtable question. I got some NBA offseason business to take care of, okay? The Heat were humiliated, eliminated from the postseason. We focus on what's to come. One of the players we have to look at, because he's going to be a restricted free agent this summer, Duncan Robinson. And actually, Alex, while you're at it, get the audio ready, because I know you have a piece from Duncan, because he spoke to the media yesterday with his exit interview. So the roundtable question for today. Duncan Robinson is headed for restricted free agency. His salary could be in the neighborhood of a 4 to 5 year deal worth $70 to $80 million. Should Miami keep him at that rate, and is he worth it? First thing I'll say is I think they might be able to get him at a slight discount from $20 million a season. We'll see how the market plays out, because if he gets an offer sheet from, a team like the Knicks or the Mavericks, if he gets an offer sheet, the Heat are going to have to match it to keep it. We'll see what the offers actually come in as. I would love to keep Duncan even at a slight discount, but for the sake of answering the question, if it really does come down to like a 4-year, $20 million a season commitment to keep Duncan Robinson with the Miami Heat, my answer is yes, they should. My opinion on this has evolved. I talked about this with Alex Toledo from 5 Reasons Sports. A month ago, I was a lot more skeptical about keeping Tyler at that price. I've talked myself into it to an extent, okay? I know it looks like a lot of money. That's now the going rate for shooters in this league. If you think about the money commanded by someone like Joe Harris. Now, if the Heat can get a little bit less than that, it's a huge win for the club. But even so, I think to me, like if you're looking at players who could be expendable, players you shouldn't hold on to in free agency, or players you might trade, Kendrick Nunn is going to be in a similar situation with the contract. To me, a player like Kendrick Nunn, who you also might lose, is way more replaceable than Duncan Robinson, given his shooting prowess. Robinson hit 41% of his threes this year. He's also adding more versatility to his offensive game, and he's improving at least slightly his defense. He's becoming more of a complete player. And based on the uniqueness and the potency of Duncan's game and his shooting abilities, honestly, guys, you know I don't love this Heat roster, but I will say, after the likes of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, Duncan is probably the very next guy on my priorities list to keep around. You know I love Goran, but he's so old, and his body is already in the process of breaking down. You know, I'm kind of developing a thing for Dwayne Dedmon. I've really enjoyed what he's done. You know, Trevor Ariza, meh. You know, I love the idea when they got him. The actual execution of it hasn't been so great. If I ever see Victor Oladipo put on a Heat jersey again, I'm boycotting. Like I'm done. This guy is damaged goods. Finito. Do not even think about bringing Oladipo back. You know, Precious Achiuwa needs time and seasoning and development. Maybe he'll be good someday. Tyler Hero, I'm all on board with trading Tyler if you can get something for him. I think this kid may have hit his ceiling already. But no, after Jimmy, who is the best player on our team, we know this, and Bam, who should be in the next couple of years the best player on our team, he's an ascending superstar, future superstar. I'd probably put Duncan Robinson next on my priority list. Let's hear from Dunk, who addressed the media yesterday in Heatland with his exit interview on where his head is at now, entering this important summer for his future.
Yeah, I mean, of course, giving it some thought. Truthfully, like I haven't yet transitioned into, you know, that being the priority, which obviously, you know, it likely will be this summer, as long as, of course, you know, developing and improving, which is probably the main priority, truthfully. But yeah, at this point, I mean, I'm similarly, not to just kind of recycle answers, but it's similar to what I had just said about USA basketball. I'm just trying to get all the information possible so I can make, you know, the best decision possible. You know, in terms of the different factors that contribute, I mean, all of them do to some extent. You know, first and foremost, a fit, a place where I can really feel comfortable. Winning is obviously, you know, a priority for me as well. And then, of course, you know, it's also a business, and there's an opportunity to make money to take care of people that I love the most. So that's also a priority as well. So any place that can offer all of those is a destination that I would be excited about. Obviously, you know, I've had an incredible experience here. Love this organization for many different reasons. So yeah, you know, we'll see. For the most part, like I said, I haven't really shifted my focus towards that just yet. But, you know, the next weeks, months will be mostly just about gathering information and trying to make the best decision possible.
He clearly knows what an important summer this is. I mean, he said it. I haven't shifted my focus to that yet. But based on his answer, he's aware of how important this is, right? Because this next deal that he's going to sign, whether it's in Miami or someplace else, this is really going to be setting his and his family's financial future for potentially generations, depending on, you know, how well you save or invest that money. Let's bring Bitcoin to the moon, my friends. Invest in some Ether and some BTC, I hope. But no, he clearly understands that this is a business decision on all fronts, but it's not only about money, it's about his development, it's about playing for a team that can compete and win. All those things are important. It's not just a money grab. It's not just about winning or about developing. You have to try and check off all of those boxes. I think he's going to be back, and I think he should be back. Duncan Robinson has officially won me over. How about that? I didn't know if that would ever happen. This is interesting. Darren Ravel tweeted this out today. JAB, I'm assuming that's some conglomerate, the owner of Krispy Kreme, reveals in a filing that the company had their best year ever in the pandemic. $1.1 billion in net revenue for Krispy Kreme. And they have plans to go public under the ticker DNUT. God, is that going to be another one of those meme stocks? Like, is DNUT, Krispy Kreme, is that going to be the next GameStop and AMC now? We're going to take DNUT. We're going to take DNUT to the moon. But is that surprising that Krispy Kreme, I guess that's a pandemic-proof business, right? Krispy Kreme has had their best year ever during the pandemic. Now, they did something I thought really clever. You remember when people first started getting vaccinations, Krispy Kreme was offering free donuts to anyone who brought in their vaccination card. That was really smart promotion because it got everyone thinking about Krispy Kreme. I mean, even if someone was unvaccinated, they probably thought, oh, let me check out I forgot about Krispy Kreme. Let me check it out because they get themselves in the news, right? And then the people who did go in with their vaccination card to get one free donut, chances are a lot of those people, while they're there, they bought some extra donuts, they got some coffee, they got a bagel while they were, because that's one of the things people forget. Like when a business offers you like a little free perk to come in, like a little free gift, chances are many of the people who come in are going to get more than just the free gift. That, you come in for one free donut, let me buy an extra dozen for the family. Let me buy some coffee to drink on the road with me. So I thought Krispy Kreme has done a good job here through the pandemic. And hey, and also, here's the other thing. Stress eating. If you think about the mental state of a lot of people, I'm assuming Krispy Kreme probably has some locations outside the U.S. I don't know if they're just strictly domestic or if they're worldwide, but people all over the world have been, I know that some people have turned to fitness to get them through the hard times. Others have turned to sugar to stress eat and get them through the hard times where, many people, unfortunately, some people have lost loved ones. You've been sick. You've had family members sick, laid off, lost your jobs, isolated. Some people turn to, the glazed donut to deal and cope with that stress. And so I think all these things have helped Krispy Kreme. Best year ever in a pandemic. I know Dana White says the UFC had their best year ever during the pandemic as well. So it's not an exclusive thing to Krispy Kreme, I guess. 844-416-8123 is how you get in. That's 844-416-8123. I don't think Marla is a fan of extending Duncan Robinson. She says Duncan cannot defend, drive to the basket, rebound, make a steal, pass, or really much of anything on an above-average basis besides shooting threes in spurts. I said he was becoming more of a complete player. I didn't say he was a complete player yet, but I'm now a believer on Duncan. Duncan and Udonis Haslem are the only untouchables now on this Heat roster, my friends. When we come back, want to talk some entertainment. Movie theaters are becoming a thing again. The box office is starting to boom. My dear old friend, who I've had on many shows in the past, will be his first time joining me on Onside Radio, Billy Donnelly, who is a longtime movie, TV critic, is going to join me when we come back here on Onside Radio to talk about the changing entertainment landscape. Hey, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., Sean Stanley hosts the Squared Circle Digest. Now wrestling fans have a place to call home as Sean covers the very colorful world of wrestling. Tune in every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on the home for sports fans worldwide, OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can now watch Onside Radio daily by subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels. Search Onside Radio. Log on, subscribe, rate, and review Onside Radio on YouTube and Twitch. Find out why Big O has a face for radio. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's home for real sports talk.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. Take their famous Boot Tour Challenge, and there's now outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations or pickup at 954-785-7565. So get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach to Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Check this out. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, welcome back in to Man of the Match here on Onside Radio. I'm really happy I reached out to a dear friend of mine who's done a number of guest spots with me over the years, and it's been way too long. And part of that is it's just, you know, the entertainment and movie-going landscape over the last, 16 months during the pandemic has not always been like at the top of my brain of things to talk about. But I thought, hey, if the box office is starting to boom a little bit again and people are getting back in, why not bring back our really good friend Billy Donnelly, who you can follow on Twitter at Infamous Kid. He's the host of a really good podcast, Getting Old Quick, where he talks about a number of different, mental health things and how to deal with stuff in the workplace. Really important stuff. Billy, it's been too long, my friend. How you been, sir?
It has been a minute. I think this is the first time I've come around your new stomping grounds, and it's a lot less dusty around here. So that's nice. So that's a pleasant experience. So it's been a minute. COVID hit, so I've just been hunkered down in the retirement community, and here I am. So thanks for digging me up.
And you mentioned COVID, which has been it's affected everyone's lives here, in this country for about the past 16 months. If we go back to when things really started changing back in March of last year, I know what a movie buff you are. Have you started going back to theaters yet, Billy, or is that not something you've added back into your life yet? How's that been going for you and your family?
Oh, hell no. I'm not going back anytime soon. I'm not in a rush to really go back. My anxiety levels are super high, dealing with my massive distrust of other people. I'm fully vaccinated, so, theoretically I could go, if I wanted to, but the idea of sitting in a windowless room with poor ventilation with a bunch of people to, at this point, really watch things that I can probably already watch at home doesn't really appeal to me all that greatly. Now, look, I am starting to feel a little bit better about it. I will say watching some of the hockey games and seeing some of the crowds there, I look at it and I say, man, that looks fun. And there's a part of me that wants to get back out there. It's baby steps right now. So, I'm not in a rush to. I don't know when I'm going to be there yet, but I sort of became real comfortable with just being able to watch stuff at home in the comfort of my couch, and not have to worry about all the other distractions that typically come from a movie theater, other than the ones that I may create myself. Like, oh, I need a new drink, or I have to go to the bathroom. I don't have to worry about anybody's phone. If it is, it's my wife, and I'm just like, what are you doing? But other than that, I have a little bit more control over it. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But no, I am not one who rushed out to do it. More power to anybody who is, but I'm not there with them just yet.
Yeah, I haven't gone back yet either. And honestly, I hadn't even really been thinking about, even like the idea of getting back until, I was reading over the weekend, A Quiet Place 2 just premiered, and they actually had a pretty decent box office. I don't know how much they're actually competing against, but they actually put up numbers that kind of felt like pre-pandemic type of numbers. So that tells me there are people going back. But before we get into that, Billy, I wanted to touch a little bit more on something you were saying, because I'm having a similar experience. I have even upgraded the size of my television during this pandemic, so I've made the home viewing experience even better for myself. And like you, I've developed this habit, even though I used to be a very frequent theater goer, and I'm not saying I'll never go back, but I've definitely developed more of a habit to watching things on demand, watching things streaming, and we've been a little bit spoiled this past year because a lot of movies that would have come to theaters are coming straight to streaming instead, and I've gotten a little bit used to that. So how much do you think this might change the entire face of the industry, Billy? Because I'm sure, you mentioned not being quite ready to go back yet, and I'm sure you're not the only one. Like, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, that they're not going to be rushing to get back into the theaters right away. So do you think that this pandemic might have, for the foreseeable future, changed the way people do new movies and that experience?
I've had this conversation with a lot of people in recent months, and I don't really know. I've been one who's kind of been like putting the nails in the coffin on movie theaters, just because like attendance has been down. A lot of people have been driven away. They don't really want to go. Sometimes it's a hassle. It's really expensive. Sometimes it's more of a pain in the ass than anything else to go. And so, I do think that there is something to be said about some of these companies that are putting a lot of muscle and a lot of effort into streaming. And streaming is going to be the next wave. Like that they know that. And that's why you're seeing so many. Now, are there too many? That's a different discussion altogether. But I do think that there is something to be said about being able to watch it at home. You're usually getting more bang for your buck, because if you're paying up for a streaming service and you're getting these films, you're paying less, per film than you would if you were to go to the theater. You get to watch it on the comfort of your own couch. You get to eat your own food, which you paid far less for. If you're drinking beer or any sort of alcohol consumption, that's far cheaper than if you were buying anything there. So it depends. There are some people who they are still holding on to this idea of going to the movies is this communal experience, and I don't know that experience exists anymore. I don't remember the last time I went there and I was like, man, everybody behaved here really well and I got so much out of this. Instead, it's like, why is that guy's phone here? Why is that guy talking? What is going on here? So it really comes down to preference, and it comes down to and some of it also comes down to FOMO, right? So I think right now you're seeing a lot of films that HBO Max is showing all the Warner Brothers films through the end of the year. They're releasing them day and date. Disney has a lot of day and date stuff that they're releasing. They have their premiere access where you got to pay a little bit more, but they're Disney, they're the mouse. They can make you do that if they want. And then all the Paramount films will be going to Paramount Plus. They have a window of like 45 days. So like something like A Quiet Place 2 now, like if you don't want to see it in the theater, 45 days from the day of release, it'll drop on Paramount Plus if you have something there. And I don't know what Universal is doing yet. I know they have a couple of things that they may be dropping, but something like Fast and Furious 9, they want that in the theater. So, it really all depends on what it is that you want. Me, personally, I don't need to see Quiet Place 2 right now.
Right.
Like, I can wait 45 days for it because I'm already paying for Paramount Plus, and I don't have to worry about anybody disturbing it in the house. So it really comes down to your viewing habits. Some people still want to be able to see it on a big giant screen and so on and so forth. I am fully comfortable watching it on 70, 75-inch TV with like a great sound system in my living room, and like that's good enough for me. And I don't feel like I'm losing anything by not having to see it on the biggest screen possible. So it really depends on the individual, I think. But I do think there is a shift towards streaming, and on top of that, I think it was just to add one final point to this is, with streaming and the fact that there haven't been like a bunch of giant films, like a lot of the studios like shelved a lot of them because they want to make sure they get maximum return on their dollar. There are a lot of more interesting films that you can typically catch on your streaming platform that in the theater you wouldn't go see anymore. Like let's face it, the blockbusters were dominating the marketplace, and that was all anybody wanted to see because they're like, well, if I'm already going and I'm paying like $80 to go for however many people, I want to make sure that I'm getting something like that makes the experience worth it. When if you're just watching like a comedy or a drama, those smaller films kind of died off a little bit, but we're seeing a little bit of more of a resurgence with them through the streaming platforms.
And I'm good with that because I don't think every movie has to be a blockbuster. And on that note, like, have there been any films that have come out, over the past year or so that you've streamed and you've really enjoyed?
I don't. There's been a lot of different things. I'm trying to think of anything like in particular that like blew me away.
You know what I actually really liked, and I think it did technically come out in theaters, but probably like 100 people saw it in theaters last year. I actually really enjoyed Tenet. I know that was some people either loved it or hated. I really liked it.
I have still not seen it. I will not see it. That is. And that is a principled stance that I take.
Why is that?
Because that was the film that in the middle of the pandemic, when everybody was rushing that like we have to open.
Right.
This was the film that they were like pushing is like everybody needs to go to the movie theater to go see this. And I was like, no, they don't. We're still in the middle of the COVID. And so I have said to myself, even now that it's available on HBO Max, which I have, I still will not watch it, and I probably never will.
You're a man of principle. I respect that. I have no principles. I mean, I didn't see it in theaters, but I did watch it at home.
Yeah, I mean, look, over the course of the pandemic, it was very strange because in the very beginning, I could not watch a movie. Like, I just could not watch a film. I would sit down to watch it, and I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Now, I could watch a series, and I saw tons of series throughout. Like, I finally watched all of The Wire. I watched the Harley Quinn series on HBO Max twice. I watched Schitt's Creek, which was really good.
That's really good.
Ted Lasso, which was phenomenal. And then I got to a point where I was like, now I can't watch any more series. And then I started watching some more movies. So, I mean, it's been, and some of it has been like old stuff that I haven't seen in a while. Some of it was newer stuff. I didn't really, none of the real like new stuff really like did anything for me. Actually, that's not true. There's a film called Greenland with Gerard Butler that I thought was excellent. It's a disaster movie. And you would think a disaster movie with Gerard Butler, that sounds like it's going to be terrible. But it's really good. And I believe it's on HBO Max now. But that was one that I definitely picked up. And there were a couple others. There's one with, the name escapes me, with Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani. That's available on Netflix. I got to try and remember that. It's a romantic comedy, but that was really good. There were a couple of things that sprung up, and things that I enjoyed, but I wouldn't say anything where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I got to see this over the course of time. Because like on top of that, like, you know, entertainment was kind of just there to like get me through the day sometimes, as opposed to like something I was really looking forward to. So.
Last thing I wanted to ask you before we let you run, we're joined by Billy Donnelly here on Onside Radio. Now, you mentioned Fast 9. I know that's going to be like the big cinematic event of the summer. I've said it many times on this show, Billy. I've actually not watched a Fast and/or Furious movie since the second one. It got to be too much, man. Like I don't know, man. It's just I like, you've been boycotting Tenet, and I respect that. I've been boycotting Fast Furious movies since 2003. So are you? I'm guessing by your reaction, you're somewhat excited at least for Fast 9.
I mean, look, it's got John Cena, so like, well, you know, what do you? That's a win. I can't believe that you haven't seen it, and I get the idea that you checked out because, you know, through the first 4, like, they're really just about street racing, and they're kind of really similar.
Right.
But once they got to 5 turns into, like, this ensemble heist movie where, like, they drive fast cars, but, like, all of a sudden they can do all this really cool stuff. And then from 5 through – and then, you know, like, 6, 7, and 8 get a little bit, like, ridiculous. There's almost like a submarine and stuff like that. But they are – if you would have told me at the start of this that basically a Point Break clone would still be going on about 10 films now. Oh yeah, the first Fast and Furious movie is exactly Point Break, like exactly Point Break.
I never even thought of that because, like, you know what? It's funny because when the original Fast and Furious came out, I've only seen it once, but it came out. I was in high school. And I was too stupid to make a comparison. Like, I've seen Point Break, but I was too dumb when I was, like, 16 to realize I'm watching the same movie, so I never even thought about that.
I mean, look, it's not as good as Point Break, but it's Point Break, okay? So you know, and you should still go through and watch them, especially, like, if it hooks you. Like, I would go to 5. I would go to Fast 5, and I would watch it. And if you find that entertaining, then you can maybe go back and circle through again, and they'll bring you on through just to, like, catch up on the different things that happen and so on and so forth. But Fast 5, I think, was the game changer. And Fast and the Furious, I would probably say is maybe, like, the second best action franchise that exists right now.
What's the first?
Mission Impossible, I think.
Fair. I do watch those, yeah.
Yeah, I think by far, like, that tops the list. But the Fast and Furious movies, like, they're big, they're loud, some of them are kind of dumb, but they're really entertaining. And I'm surprised that I'm as on board with the Fast and Furious movies as I am. But over time, like, they put a smile on your face. You watch them, like, they're good for what they are. You know, they're not going to change your world. Like, you're not going to come out and be like, oh my God, now I'm going to consider, like, my existential crisis in my existence over Fast and Furious. But when you sit and you watch them, like, you will have a good time. So I would say I would go back to 5. That's the first one that features The Rock, and it sort of, like, changes the format of the films. And then see where that gets you, and if you enjoy that, then now you have been reintroduced into the Fast and Furious family.
You know what? If anybody can convince me, it's you, because I do find we often have somewhat similar tastes. So if anyone can convince me, you would be the person. And you know what? My wife would be thrilled because she likes those movies. If I told her tonight, you know, Billy convinced me to watch Fast and Furious movies, we'll marathon them within the next week or something. So I appreciate your time as always. You guys want to follow Billy on Twitter at @InfamousKid. And check him out on the Getting Old Quick podcast. Billy, thank you so much for taking the time, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, man, it's been nice to catch up. So hopefully we don't wait another several years to do this again.
Well, and the next time we do it, I'll probably want to talk to you about pro wrestling because we can devote some time to that as well in the future.
We can absolutely do that. And also, just so you know, I am all in on hockey.
Nice. Yes.
So all the rest of the sports, as far as I'm concerned, can suck it. Hockey is king. So that's where my head is at as well.
Good stuff, man. Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Alex.
Good stuff there from Billy Donnelly. I love it. 844-416-8123 is how you get in. That's 844-416-8123. I want to get in a little bit when we come back on the Naomi Osaka story. You know, we all know she withdrew from the French Open, and I don't know, man. So some of the ways that people are covering this story, I don't really think it's fair to her, and it's really fair to what the greater point should be. So I do want to get into that a little bit here on Onside Radio. You're listening to Man of the Match. Hey, for 30 years, you've been getting the brutal honesty on South Florida radio. You can count on one show to give you that honesty you need. Orlando Alzagari and the Onside Zone, daily from noon to 3 p.m., exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
The Man of the Match with South Florida's own Alex Donno. Weekdays 1 to 5 p.m. on the home for Inter Miami football. OnsideRadio.com.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
Hey, Big O, what's going on? Listen, I just was telling your guy that answering the phone, Alex, it's just a pleasure, man, to get out of work and get in your car and be able to put on the radio and hear South Florida sports and not have to listen to some bull crap about another team from another state that you can give to a rat's ass about and sit there and have to go through all this other bull crap talk to, again, never hear them talk about your team once or twice in 20 hours. It's just an honor, and I wanted to thank you, man, for starting this thing up, man. It's balls to the walls. I love it.
Onside Zone with a Big O from 12 noon to 3 p.m. every weekday on OnsideRadio.com. Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
The Miami Marlins are back on the field tonight in Buffalo, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Sandy Alcantara will be on the mound for the Fish, and first pitch is coming up soon at 7:07. Last night in the NBA playoffs, the Washington Wizards stayed alive with a 122-114 win over the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid left the game late in the first quarter with a sore right knee. The Utah Jazz took a commanding 3-1 lead in their series over the Memphis Grizzlies after a 120-113 win. Tonight, Brooklyn looks to eliminate the Boston Celtics at 7:30. The Nets are a 12.5-point favorite. Portland and Denver tip off at 9 p.m., and their series is tied at 2-2. Lakers and Suns tip off at 10 with the Suns a 5-point favorite, and Anthony Davis is questionable for tonight's game. And Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open. Guys, you're listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station. Coming up, it's more of Man of the Match with Alex Donno right here at OnsideRadio.com.
You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnSideRadio.com studio. Call a Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Thanks again to Billy Donnelly for joining us. We also spoke with Antoine Staley today. We spoke with Alex Toledo. You missed any of those interviews, man, you can get them all on our podcast channel. Just search Onside Radio on anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. You can get it all there, my friends. Everything is archived. Everything is available for replay. And you can check it all out as well at OnSideRadio.com. So huge thanks to Billy for joining us. You know, a ton of media coverage for the last day since she announced she was withdrawing from the French Open is going with Naomi Osaka. Now, admittedly, I'm not a tennis expert, but I've still been following this story. About how she gets. She had mentioned that it wasn't really doing any favors for her mental health, doing interviews, so she had announced she was going to decline doing her media. She knew she was going to get fined for it. She was fined. They threatened to kick her out of the French Open. She ended up withdrawing, okay? And I think clearly she made the right decision for her, and I respect it. And I think a lot of the media coverage, I'm not going to criticize everybody, because I think a lot of the media coverage on this story, they are doing it right, because they're being sympathetic and they're raising mental health awareness, which I think is important, because it's the bottom line is it's really hard for me or you or anybody to try and understand what Naomi Osaka is going through, because we're all different. We all have different brains. We process things a different way. We have different sensibilities. So it's not one size fits all. I can't claim to understand what she's going through. I can only speak from my own personal experience. And so I do see a lot of people, I think, covering this story in a sensitive, thought-provoking way, but I see other people covering this story completely wrong on both sides. I see some people taking the extreme of, like, calling her a liar or a snowflake or spoiled or wanting to get attention or, oh, why does she think she's above the rules doing media? I don't think that's a fair way to cover it at all. I think it's mean and rude. I see other people taking the extreme of blaming tennis reporters for putting her into a depression in the first place. And I cannot, of course, speak specifically on what another human being is going through. I can't. Like I said, I can only speak from my own experience. And I do want to let you guys know that throughout, on and off through the course of the last decade, I have dealt with depression at times. I've dealt with anxiety. I'm in a really good place right now. I was, there are other times over the last decade where I've not been in a very good place. And I bring this up not for any kind of sympathy. I don't need that. I don't care for it. I don't want it. Like, I'm not bringing it up for any kind of sympathy. I'm bringing it up because I think talking about experiences I think can help other people. If I let you know what I've been through, maybe I can help somebody else. And I got to tell you, man, when I was dealing with some of the worst depression that I dealt with, the biggest thing that I learned, and again, I can only speak for me. This worked for me. It may not work for everybody. It's not one size fits all. But, and this was actually something that a therapist helped me with. The biggest thing that I learned that worked for me is it is pointless to blame others for your own depression. If all you do when you're feeling depressed and down, and again, this worked for me, it may not work for everybody, but what really worked for me is if you get into this cycle and this habit where you're feeling down and depressed and you just blame others, everything's going wrong, this person is mean to me, this thing happened to me, and that's why I'm depressed. If you're only blaming the outside factors and you get into that cycle, it never fixes the problem. It only enables you to make the problem worse when you're blaming everyone else for how you feel. And I'm not saying bad things don't happen to everybody, right? Bad things, good things happen to every human being. I firmly believe on my own experience, and I say this hoping to help others, depression, to me, it always came from within. I was giving way too much power to other people and other factors when I allowed things that I cannot control, which is the way other people treat me and things that happen to me. When I gave power to things I cannot control and I gave that power over my mental state, that made things worse and worse because my mental state belongs to me and me alone. And let me give you an example, okay? There are people in the world who have far more wealth and power and material things than I have, yet are far more miserable than me. On the flip side, there are people that have far less money, loved ones, material things than me, who are far happier than I am, okay? So how can that be possible? If happiness is judged and affected by other factors, then how come, billionaires and celebrities and people who have everything can be more miserable than me and people who have nothing can be happier than me? I think that's the cue that happiness and serenity, it comes from within, not from without. So again, I'm not saying quite the contrary. I'm not saying that, we should not be sensitive and aware of the depression of others. I'm actually saying the exact opposite. We should be far more aware and more sympathetic to these issues because more people than you realize go through this. Like we've come to find out this is something Naomi Osaka is going through. And, mental health awareness, when this thing comes public and you find out another person suffers from this, I think it allows other people suffering to know that they're not suffering alone and they don't have to suffer in silence. So I'm really glad that Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open. I'm glad she withdrew from the tournament for two major reasons. I mean, one, she gets now to take some time away and focus on her mental health because she probably needed a break and she probably needed some reflection. Maybe she needs to talk to some people. And she can now set an example to others who suffer because I think it's important for people to know they're not alone. And so, listen, I hear people in the media like blaming, the media because they're asking her tough questions. That put her into a depression. That's not really fair. There are thousands of other athletes who deal with questions in media sessions. Not one person handles it exactly the same way as another person. So, asking Naomi questions about why she doesn't win as many matches on clay than she does on a hard court, that's not the cause of her depression. That's something that brings up the symptoms of it. Now, I do believe that there are plenty of reporters that need to be more sensitive to what she's going through. So instead of trying to paint her with a broad brush and say, I understand, she's being greedy or whatever, it's completely unfair, man. So if you can take one thing away from this, is I mentioned that the biggest thing I learned was don't blame, the way I'm feeling, I can't blame it on other people. Otherwise, I'm never going to win. Because if I'm depending on everything else around me to be perfect for me to be happy, I'm never going to be happy because everything around me is not going to be perfect. So what I want you to take away from this is always treat others with kindness because you don't know what other people are going through or how they might react to the way you treat them. So we cannot control the way other people treat us, but we can control the way we treat other people. So if you treat other people with kindness and respect and empathy, and you're polite then that could go a long way to someone else's mental health, right? Because I can't control the way they treat me, but I can control the way that I treat you. And if everyone lives that way, we can get into an echo chamber, I would hope, of happiness. And it's something to remember, man, to treat other people with respect, okay? 844-416-8123 is how you reach us on the text line. That's 844-416-8123. Now this is fair as well. Marla writes in, I beg to differ. Happiness and serenity are based on a chemical balance. I'm sure that's part of it, right? I mean, medication can work. So I'm not excluding that as well. I'm not. So I think that's something to think about. But whether it's a chemical imbalance or it's your own positivity and mental state, still, whether you think medication is going to help you, and it can, that doesn't change the fact that outside factors are not the reason why you're depressed. That's not the cause of it, okay? 844-416-8123. We'll wrap it up when we come back. This episode of Man of the Match here on Onside Radio. You're listening to the only locally owned sports station in the world, OnsideRadio.com.
The Man of the Match with South Florida's own Alex Donno. Weekdays 1 to 5 p.m. on the home for Inter Miami football. OnsideRadio.com.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
A huge shout out to everybody who joined us today. Billy Donnelly, Antoine Staley, Alex Toledo. Check out all those interviews in our podcast archives. Huge shout out to Alex Aguirre, who's doing great work here at Dry Pink Stadium here on our Onside Radio studios. So we will talk to you guys tomorrow, 3 until 6 p.m. When we come back, you're going to hear our dude, Stephen D, hosting Miami sports music for the fans. I want to remind everybody, if you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. I'm so happy Checkers are aboard here on Onside Radio. They sponsor Terrible Take Tuesdays. And guys, I believe in this spot. I love the food. I love the beer. Matt, the owner, is a great friend of mine and a great friend to all of us here in South Florida. He loves the South Florida sports scene. At Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant, guys, you're getting the brats, the Wiener Schnitzel, the homemade potato pancakes, the pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. And with daily specials, there's something for everyone. They came in last Wednesday, and fed us like kings. This is 6 days ago. I'm still full. I don't know how that's possible. I'm still full from 6 days ago with that Checkers Old Munchin food. If you're up for a challenge, take their famous boot tour. Finish 30 boots of different varieties of German beer, and you'll receive half price on their beer for life. And you'll get to take home your own boot and Checkers Old Munchin t-shirt. They also have outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music, as well as carry-out, curbside pickup, and delivery. So for the finest German food and beer, go on over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations at 954-785-7565. That's 954-785-7565. We will see you at Zagat Rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.